Chapter 1192, Trading Purple Seeds, Empty Words, said Zhong Rinyu, staring back at Lin Feng. He then said coldly, "Next time, I'll stir your soul in the blink of an eye and make it burst out of your body." The soul-stirring skill is a skill they teach at the Church of Desire. Luckily, I am a monk and know how to use Buddhist energies. Let's see if we can learn from each other, said someone who was wearing a kasaya and slowly walking towards them. That person's chi was majestic and oppressing, but at the same time it was a pure chi which made people feel comfortable. That person was Kong Ming, a Buddhist monk from the Celestial Thunder Temple in the celestial part of Ba Huang. Zhong Rinyu frowned. He was one of the strongest cultivators of the Regio and his Buddhist skills were astonishingly powerful. It was said that he had an indestructible Buddha body. He even understood acoustic and gold abstruse energies. Even though Zhong Rinyu was strong, he was far from being as strong as Kong Ming. No need. We don't have an unlimited time here in Fortune City, so we can learn from each other another day. I'm off, said Zhong Rinyu indifferently. His silhouette flickered and he left, going to a shrine. Gold, unyielding, fury, arg. At that moment, Kong Ming rose up in the air and chanted a mantra. A strong wind brushed against Zhong Rinyu's body and golden lights surrounded him. Like a golden Buddha, Kong Ming threw himself at Zhong Rinyu. What an aggressive Buddhist monk, thought the crowd. Zhong Rinyu felt cold. He had refused to fight Kong Ming because the outcome was obvious. Kong Ming didn't intend to let him off though. He shouted so loudly that the space around them changed. Zhong Rinyu couldn't escape it seemed. Realizing this, he turned around and looked particularly evil. Soul-stirring arg. Zhong Rinyu shouted furiously and the ground shook. The sound waves created by their voices collided, creating a hurricane. Golden Buddhist lights surrounded Zhong Rinyu again and he was struggling to resist them. He was trying to run, but his face turned deathly pale. Righteousness has never won over evil. I hoped that the Church of Desire would do good things sometimes and stop harassing women, said Kong Ming in a majestic and dignified way. Zhong Rinyu smiled evilly and said, "I will remember what you said, master." Then, Zhong Rinyu left for a shrine. "I will remember that Kong Ming interfered with our affairs." When Zhong Rinyu had reached the shrine, his voice echoed everywhere. There were 4 emperors in the celestial part of Ba Huang, so it was a very powerful region. There was the Celestial Thunder Temple to which Kong Ming belonged, the Heavens of Desire's Palace to which Irin Lei belonged, the Church of Desire to which Zhong Rinyu belonged, and the Fairyland of the 9 Songs. Those 4 groups of influence were extremely powerful. That region alone had 2 of the 10 strongest young cultivators of the province. Zhong Rinyu didn't like that, and he couldn't allow the Celestial Thunder Temple to get involved in the affairs of the Church of Desire. He would never listen to Kong Ming. Many people's silhouettes flickered as they headed for the shrines. "Taoist priest," said Lin Feng to Cheong Chi who seemed pensive. "What do you want, young Danapati?" said Cheong Chi as if he were a real Taoist priest. "You forgot to give me back my things," said Lin Feng smiling. Cheong Chi wanted to avoid the topic. Cheong Chi looked at Lin Feng and grinded his teeth. He said, "You little bastard, you dare steal my things. I will remember this." He then gave a ring to Lin Feng. Lin Feng found his heavenly 9-dragon cauldron and the golden crow fire in it. Cheong Chi wasn't happy. He would be able to level up a few times with that fire. Lin Feng tapped Cheong Chi's shoulders, smiled and said, "Stop joking, you obtained so many treasures these past few months, but I didn't ask you to share them. I'm quite generous in that regard." "What a bastard," said Cheong Chi pushing Lin Feng's hand away. "Well, who is he?" After Cheong Chi left, Yuan Fei and the others came to Lin Feng and asked him, how come Lin Feng was friends with a Taoist priest? "An old buddy," said Lin Feng looking at Cheong Chi's back. Lin Feng couldn't fight Fu Hei yet. He would have never been able to get back his things without Cheong Chi. Amongst those who were still alive, Fu Hei was the one who had suffered the biggest loss. "Let's go to the shrine too and use those fate seeds. If you want to practice cultivation, remember you can trade time for fate seeds in the shrine. You can make one day turn into 100, said Lin Feng to his friends. Everybody nodded and went to the shrines. Lin Feng and Meng Qing stayed together. Lin Feng was pensive. He had over 10 million gems. What could he do with them? Meng Qing, do you need anything? I can help you if want, asked Lin Feng to Meng Qing. But Meng Qing shook her head and said, I have the memories of my ancestors. I don't need anything. Lin Feng nodded. Meng Qing had a pure celestial and bestial blood. She had inherited an incredible power at birth. As she became stronger, the power she had inherited also became more powerful. In the shrine, the old man looked at Lin Feng and smiled. So many gems, Lin Feng could even buy Peerless holy weapons with that many gems. What do you need? Asked the old man to Lin Feng. Master, how long do I have? Asked Lin Feng. 1 day. In 1 day, the diviner will appear, replied the old man smiling. He was nicer than before for some reason. Only 1 day, whispered Lin Feng. Then he said, Master, I need 1 more month. I also need all the arts of sorcery, skills and techniques. Apart the gems I'm going to use for the extra month, I want to use all my gems for sorcery spells. Cursing spells were efficient against demonic and Buddha spells. In the antiquity, Buddhist and Taoist spells were all sorceries. According to legends, black magic from the West was also a sort of sorcery. Lin Feng didn't know how sorcery spells worked in that world, but his cursing scepter was incredibly powerful. Besides, in the continent of the 9 clouds, there were black mages according to legends. That alone proved how strong sorcery energies were. Lin Feng wanted to become a strong black mage too, therefore he wanted to trade all his fate seeds for that. The old man looked surprised, smiled and said, I have incredible cursing skills and techniques here, but your gems are far from being sufficient. Not enough. Lin Feng was surprised. 3 million gems weren't enough. That was enough to get a peerless weapon and a few high-level holy weapons, but not enough for a cursing skill set. Master, can I have some parts of the skill set? Asked Lin Feng. The old man shook his head, which made Lin Feng cough nervously. Never mind, I'll give the rest to you, said the old man smiling. Lin Feng was astonished. Give him? Master, Lin Feng didn't believe it. Could they cheat in the shrine? I decide everything that goes on here. Don't you want a gift? Said the old man, narrowing his eyes. Lin Feng said, I would love to, you just surprised me is all. Thank you so much, master. Lin Feng bowed in front of the old man. How could he refuse such an incredible gift? I'll transmit it to your memories. The old man opened his third eye. He didn't look like an ordinary old man at that moment. He looked like an incredibly powerful cultivator, like a cultivation god. Lin Feng sensed the memories entering his brain, and they were all incredible. After a short while, Lin Feng had received all the memories. He then shook his hand and said, You go together. Then Lin Feng and Meng Qing disappeared. The old man walked towards a chair, sat down nonchalantly, and he narrowed his eyes. He talked to himself, I love that about Fortune City, that's my favorite part. With your talent, maybe we'll meet again. Of course, Lin Feng didn't hear what the old man said. Chapter 1193. 9 Watchers. Lin Feng and Meng Qing appeared together in a small world. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. He had used all his gems to get the cursing skill set, so he inspected the memories the old man had transmitted to him. That was an extensive knowledge and profound scholarship. It took Lin Feng half a day just to inspect all the memories. He opened his eyes and took a deep breath. What an extensive skill set, said Lin Feng. That skill set contained all the skills and techniques of the sorcerer's arts. There was even a taboo cursing technique in the memories. The knowledge the old man had transmitted to Lin Feng could be defined as godly. Lin Feng understood what the old man meant when he said the skill set was priceless. All the gems in the world didn't really suffice to buy it in its entirety. How strong are real black mages? Whispered Lin Feng. He was wondering if he could become an authentic black mage in the future. Not many people practiced cursing cultivation in the continent. Although it would provide cultivators with explosive powers, it wasn't as ferocious as Buddhist or demonic cultivation. But the geniuses who mastered the sorcerer's arts were terrifying cultivators whom everybody feared. Powerful people tried to wipe them off the map as soon as possible, but if they didn't, at higher levels black mages could be terrifying. As Lin Feng had expected, cursing cultivation couldn't be defined in a few words. It was even related to Buddhist and demonic cultivations. Cursing cultivation consisted of a myriad of skills and techniques: Buddha and demon shadows, apparent curses, hidden curses, talisman curses, voice curses, mantra curses, repelling curses, godly curses. There were all sorts of curses. Strong black mages could kill their enemies in various ways, poisoning people's souls, cursing water, fire, mountains, and so on. Lin Feng laughed. He didn't start practicing cursing cultivation. Instead, he took out his Tianji sword and his heavenly 9-dragon cauldron. His Tianji sword's fire soul hadn't finished condensing yet. First, he would wait for the event in Fortune City to finish completely, and then he'd study cursing cultivation. Come out! Lin Feng released fire energies which dashed to the skies. The golden crow fire also appeared. Go! Lin Feng's Tianji sword flew into the golden crow fire. Lin Feng opened his mouth and took a deep breath. He was sweating heavily now. He felt relaxed since he had left the special areas, but now that he was cleansing his sword with fire energies, his soul felt sore again. This time he had to endure the terrifying fire energies. That was his own choice though. He grinded his teeth and started using his cosmos burning sun technique, and Agni, his body was surrounded by fire. The sun pattern appeared. The golden crow fire kept burning in the sky, and Lin Feng made it fuse together with his own pure sun fire chi, absorbing it. Lin Feng practiced sun fire skills, and that golden crow fire was also a sun-type fire. It was perfect for him. Meng Qing was next to Lin Feng and practicing cultivation too. Time passed slowly, and finally flames dashed to the skies as Lin Feng's sword whistled. He had absorbed all the golden crow fire, and now there were 3 dazzling suns on Lin Feng's body. Fire energies flew throughout his body, and at the same time, he could release the golden crow fire which he had completely absorbed. Meng Qing was surprised, but smiled in a resplendent way. Lin Feng and his sword were about to level up together at the same time. Slash, his Tianji sword dashed to the skies. Lin Feng's sun patterns were even more dazzling. Suddenly, he opened his eyes to see his fire burning away the sky. I broke through to the next Tianqi layer, whispered Lin Feng, smiling in a resplendent way. He broke through to the 7th Tianqi layer. He was now a strong cultivator of the Tianqi layer. He used to admire Zun cultivators. Now he wasn't far from the Zunqi layer anymore. He could even defeat low-level Zun cultivators now. I didn't even use all the golden crow fire. No wonder it's a precious treasure. Lin Feng put the heavenly 9-dragon cauldron away and the rest of the golden crow fire with it. He decided to use the time he had left there to practice cursing cultivation. Before, he used to use his scepter to release cursing energies. But now, he could use his cursing skill set. First he needed to understand abstruse cursing energies, then he'd be able to cast powerful cursing spells. Lin Feng took out his scepter and instantly cursing energies surrounded Lin Feng's body. The sorcerer's arts were all-inclusive. Cursing was a large part of it. However, cursing strength was also sorcery strength. It represented one kind of strength, therefore, Lin Feng could rely on his scepter to understand the sorcerer's arts. After having studied several abstruse energies, Lin Feng found it a lot easier to study new ones. He had realized that a while ago already. After understanding thunder abstruse energy, he found it easier and easier to study other types of abstruse energies. Of course, without abstruse tablets and the special areas, he would have needed much longer. Besides, studying sorcery energies was harder than studying any of the other types of energies. The sorcerer's arts required an even stronger soul and vitality than other arts. Some sorcery spells needed to have a very strong soul and vitality. After a while, it was time for them to leave. Lin Feng and Meng Qing left the calm area. The old man gave Meng Qing more time for her to use all her fate seeds, then he waved and they appeared somewhere else. They were now in the sky above Fortune City. It was the place where they had first appeared when they had come to Fortune City all those months ago. There were big clouds in the sky, and a lofty celestial palace was visible above the clouds. Lin Feng and Meng Qing walked in that direction, as did everybody else. There were many people in the city now. including those who hadn't been able to go to the 5 elemental areas. They could only watch, so they remained standing in the distance, enviously. There were many people in front of the palace who might listen to the diviner's prophecies. Lin Feng looked at the people on his left and right. Those who were in the middle were those who had been to the special areas. However, Lin Feng was surprised because there were many people he had never seen as well. For example, there were 9 people who were wearing the same clothes. They were all wearing a plaited bamboo hat, the Watchers. There are 9 Watchers, the crowd was surprised. It was the first time they saw all the Watchers, let alone count them all. They all looked the same, there was absolutely no difference between them. The Imperial Assassin Union has 7 assassins, the Watchers have 9 people. I wonder who's stronger than whom. Though many people, nobody had ever seen how strong the Watchers really were, so they didn't know their cultivation levels. Would they shoot arrows as the diviner would tell his prophecies? I wonder who shot an arrow at me, thought Lin Feng looking at the Watchers. He couldn't differentiate them, so he couldn't know who his Watcher was. He had never even seen his face, so he couldn't recognize him. Apart from the Watchers, there were also a few other people whom Lin Feng didn't know. Maybe they were assassins? Lin Feng, he's up there. At that moment, many people in the distance looked up at Lin Feng. Those people were from Tiantai. They hadn't managed to get 1,000,000 gems, so they weren't able to go to the 5 elemental areas either. There were also some of Lin Feng's enemies, for example Xian Yuan, Yang Zilan. They were furious when they saw Lin Feng. Especially Xian Yuan, he looked beyond upset. Lin Feng had surprisingly managed to go to the special area, but he hadn't. He had managed to gather 1,000,000 seeds, but when he was about to go to the 5 elemental areas, someone stole them from him. That person was a lot stronger than him. It was one of the 10 strongest cultivators in the province. Fu He. Fu He wasn't far from Lin Feng in the crowd. Bastard, said Xian Yuan to Fu He. Fu He glanced at him, but that was all. He went inside. Do you think the diviner will say that he'll become an emperor? Asked Yang Zilan to Xian Yuan, who was looking even worse now. He's lucky, wait until he comes out. I'll teach him a lesson then, said Xian Yuan coldly. He had broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer, so he was convinced he could kill Lin Feng now. I hope so, said Yang Zilan nodding, but he didn't really believe it. Chapter 1194. The prophecies. The crowd was standing above the clouds outside of the palaces. Clouds were rolling in the sky as an illusion appeared and gradually became more distinct. White robe, long beard, celestial, divine-looking, the old man who had appeared when they had originally gone to the special areas. The diviner. The diviner is here. Unfortunately, I got stuck outside, so he won't predict my future. Many people were talking. Some were sad because they wished they had been to the special areas. Now they were stuck outside and could only watch. They couldn't even hear or sense any chi from above. The diviner slowly landed in front of the palace. He looked benevolent and calm. Nobody could sense his chi. They were still too weak to sense such a strong cultivator's energies. Lin Feng looked at Qiong Qi's facial expression, who was disguised as a Taoist priest. Qiong Qi narrowed his eyes and fixedly stared at the diviner as if he was trying to see through the old man's cultivation level. Qiong Qi wasn't the only one who was trying though, some others did too. How was the diviner going to tell them their future? Who wants to come first? Asked the old man, smiling indifferently. Me. Someone immediately landed in front of the old man as if he were alone in the world. It was Mo Peng, the great oriental greenfinch rock. He was a genius from Ba Huang. He had always been obstinate and unruly, wild and arrogant. Your blood has determined your life. That's what makes you extraordinary. However, your arrogance is your biggest obstacle. If you manage to put your ego aside, you might become an upper emperor, said the diviner indifferently. Mo Peng was surprised and said, just a medium or upper emperor. Are your predictions accurate? Mo Peng was the first one to hear the diviner's prophecy, and he seemed skeptical. He was the great oriental greenfinch rock, and he was proud. He had to reign over Ba Huang and become the most dazzling emperor. The diviner didn't mind. He smiled and said, I practice fortune-telling cultivation. I don't even know how many years I've lived, but I've seen many incredible geniuses whose hair was longer than yours. I've even seen great oriental greenfinch rocks before, and they had a stronger blood than yours. For example, the immortal phoenix, the mythological Kylin, the golden dragon. Whether my predictions are accurate or not, you can decide yourself. If you don't believe me, it doesn't matter. I'm a great oriental greenfinch rock. I must become a bestial emperor and amaze the world, said Imopeng, then he moved aside. He knew that the old man was incredibly powerful. He didn't want to offend him. I hope you will, but I can only tell you what will happen in the best conditions. The most important thing is for you to survive, said the old man, smiling indifferently. Everybody understood that. The diviner couldn't tell them when they'd die, what exactly they'd become, etc. Otherwise, he wouldn't be called a diviner, but a prophet. Next one, said the diviner indifferently. The second person who came out, and it was the Thunderbird. The best you can become is a lower emperor. Gotcha. The Thunderbird released thunderous energies. Could he only become a lower emperor? Next one. The next one to come was Mangyo from Mangyo Mountain. Same thing, lower emperor. My turn, said Yuan Fei, jumping in front of the diviner. The diviner looked at him and smiled indifferently. Average emperor, of course, if a great emperor assists you, you have the potential to become an upper emperor. The great oriental greenfinch rock released sharp energies. He was godly beast while Yuan Fei was only an ape. Why did he have a better potential future than him? Beasts also have talent, but talent has limits. Coming from a powerful family grants an individual with extraordinary powers, but it also grants them with limits. Only those who embrace change can change their destiny, said the diviner indifferently. Yuan Fei nodded. The great ape emperor had always told him that beasts, especially extremely strong beasts who were born with extraordinary powers, still had to embrace change and practice hard to become truly extraordinary. Next one, said the diviner calmly. Me, said Qi Jiao Jiao, looking at the diviner with her beautiful eyes. You'll never become an empress. Boom! Qi Jiao Jiao looked as if she had been struck by lightning. She would never become an empress. She didn't need to know anything more about her future. How come? She was one of the 4 most beautiful girls of Ba Huang province. So why did the diviner tell her such cruel things? Why? Said Qi Jiao Jiao, pulling a long face. Everything that is great about you is what other people give you. Your clan, your brother, if you're here, it's also thanks to other people. You are beautiful. Apart from that, you don't have anything particularly interesting. You're not determined, you're just waiting for time to pass, hoping every day that people will admire and envy you. Therefore, you will never be an empress, unless you change basically everything about you, or unless you're extremely lucky, said the diviner coldly. Qi Jiao Jiao's face turned deathly pale. Everything great about her was what people gave her? She had nothing? Jiao Jiao, you'll become an empress, said Qi Tianxing, jumping next to her and putting his hand on her shoulders. He was trying to cheer her up. She nodded, but the diviner had already crushed her mood. She had nothing? Qi Tianxing looked at the diviner and said, What about me? You can become a lower emperor, maybe a medium emperor if you're extremely lucky, said the diviner indifferently. Qi Tianxing felt cold. Only a lower emperor? That meant that the Thunderbird and Yuan Fei would surpass him. Everybody was nervously waiting. Even though they looked calm, they were clenching their fists. The diviner could crush people's moods easily with his prophecies. What he said meant that the future of Ba Huang province could be very different from what it was now. For example, that Yuan Fei would become a medium emperor and Qi Tianxing a lower emperor. Qi Tianxing clenched his fists, which then emitted crackling sounds. He looked very unhappy. What about me, master? Asked Wu Yan. Then he bowed in front of the diviner in a very respectful and polite way. Same as him, lower emperor, but if you're very lucky, a medium emperor, said the diviner calmly. Wu Yan is like my brother, thought Qi Jiao Jiao, staring at Wu Yan. She had always thought her brother was extremely powerful and that Wu Yan, even though he was strong, couldn't compare to him. Me too, said Fu Hei, scratching his head. People found him funny because his skin was dark, as if he had been burnt by a fire cultivator. Within 80 years, you'll become an emperor. You will then not be more than a medium emperor, which is your limit, unless you're a little bit lucky, in which case you might become an upper emperor. 80 years, the crowd was surprised. The diviner's prediction for Fu Hei was the best one so far. Hee hee, maybe it will happen, but don't tell me numbers though. I had thought I'd become an emperor within 20 years, said Fu Hei, smiling embarrassed. The crowd rolled their eyes. That bastard had received the best prediction so far, and he still pretended to be unhappy. He had even surpassed the great oriental greenfinch rock. The number of years is not fixed. When I say 80, it could be 50, 30, or even 10. It depends on your actions and on your luck. I won't tell you the number of years then, I don't want to influence you, said the diviner, smiling. Fu Hei moved back, still quite satisfied. At that moment, Zhong Rinyu looked at the diviner, smiled and said, Master, what about me? You won't have any problem becoming an emperor. However, your skills and techniques must be at the maximum level, otherwise, you'll be stuck at the lower emperor level, said the diviner calmly. Of course, you can also choose to give up the human desire skills too. Zhong Rinyu was speechless. He could easily become strong thanks to his human desire skills, but as the diviner had said, that kind of skills had its limits. At some point, such cultivators couldn't progress. It's just a suggestion, said the diviner, smiling. Zhong Rinyu moved back, only a lower emperor? At that moment, the crowd outside was extremely nervous and curious. They could only guess what was happening from the facial expressions of those who were inside. At the same time, those who hadn't received the diviner's predictions were also very nervous. The diviner had practiced fortune-telling cultivation for such a long time, nobody knew how strong he was. His predictions were different for everybody. It was also a way for them to confirm their theories or not. Maybe that the diviner's words would change their lives. How could they not be nervous? Chapter 1195. What kind of body? Fiwu. At that moment, a golden arrow landed on Fu Hei's body. Fu Hei didn't stop it. He let the arrow penetrate into his body and fuse together with his flesh. Fu Hei has been shot by a watcher's arrow. The crowd was astonished. He was the first one, right? No wonder though, the diviner had made great predictions for Fu Hei, even better than for the great oriental greenfinch rock. He had even mentioned a time frame. Within 80 years Fu Hei would become an emperor. His future also looked brighter than Qi Tianxing's future. So the fact that a watcher shot an arrow at him was perfectly logical. 3 of the strongest cultivators of the region had already heard the diviner's predictions. The others also went to the diviner. Bai Qiu Luo from the Sunset Pavilion in the western part of Ba Huang went to the diviner. Becoming an emperor won't be a problem for you, however, if you want to be more than a lower emperor, you'll need to change a lot in your life and find your own path. Bai Qiu Luo bowed in front of the diviner and moved back. Si Kong Xiao from the central part of Ba Huang came out of the crowd. Celestial Eye's body, you can definitely become an average emperor, even an upper emperor if you fight for it, said the diviner, smiling. The second watcher's arrow appeared. It was for Si Kong Xiao. Si Kong Xiao looked calm and indifferent, but in reality he really cared about the diviner's predictions. Lin Feng looked at Si Kong Xiao. Celestial Eyes? Someone with a special body again. After that, Mu Fanqin from the Magic World Heavenly Palace went to the diviner, who said, You'll become an average emperor. If you want to become an upper emperor, you'll need incredibly strong powers. A watcher shot an arrow at Mu Fanqin, third arrow. 6 of the strongest cultivators had already heard the diviner. When Tiangu also came out. With intent, and if you become an enlightened killer, you can become an average emperor. If you don't miss the right opportunity when it comes, you may even become an upper emperor. Bzz. A 4th watcher's arrow shot. He had prepared himself for it before when he had watched Wen Tiangu. He will become an enlightened killer too? Said a young man furiously. It was Wu Tian from the Abyss of Sufferings. He has the potential to become a real enlightened killer. You're a destructor, so you're not like him. Besides, you'll probably die younger than him because of your temper. You have the potential to become an average emperor, but you shouldn't flirt with destruction too much, otherwise it'll be a grave mistake. The diviner gave everybody advice if they asked for it, but he couldn't decide for them if they wanted to listen to it or not. Wu Tian didn't say anything else, but he didn't look happy. He was also one of the 10 strongest cultivators, but he wouldn't necessarily surpass Wen Tiangu. What about me, master? Asked Iren Lei, moving gracefully. She didn't smile in a seducing way, she looked pure and holy at that moment. You're determined, you have a strong body, however, your cultivation, the path of the 6 sexual attractions, is not optimal. Your choices determine your future, said the diviner. He didn't tell her if she had the potential to become an empress. She bowed in front of him in return. 9 of the 10 strongest cultivators had already heard the diviner. Qi Jiaojiao's face was deathly pale. Her brother was so much weaker than the other strongest cultivators. For everybody, the diviner's predictions had been better than her brother's, it seemed. Qi Tianxing was also furious. He didn't believe that he was not stronger than the other strongest cultivators. Even Yuan Fei had received better predictions than him. Only Kong Ming didn't go to see the diviner so far. What will the diviner tell him? He's one of the rare geniuses to have a special body. What will the diviner tell him about that? The crowd was staring at Kong Ming. It was as if he hadn't intended to go yet. So instead, Long Teng went to the diviner. I'm listening, master, said Long Teng, releasing a powerful qi as if trying to show the diviner how strong he was. Your qi is aggressive, you are determined, you have a celestial dragon body, but if you don't change, you'll become, in the best case, a lower emperor, said the diviner calmly. Long Teng clenched his fists, his thoughts were exploding. But he returned where he was without making much of a scene. Shui Baiyao came out at the same time as Feng Xian, so they looked at each other. 2 of the 4 most beautiful girls in the province. What was the diviner going to tell them? Celestial body and phoenix body, so many people with special bodies came to me today. Ba Huang province has more geniuses than last time. Maybe that in 50 years, Ba Huang province will become terrifyingly strong in the continent. Maybe even farther in time, emperors will be a norm here, said the diviner, looking at Shui Baiyao and Feng Xian. He glanced at Feng Ling, who was behind them, smiled and said, Women are easily influenced, they easily lose their minds because of love. You have potential, but your life will depend on what you do with that love. That small one is quite strong, take good care of her. When saying that small one, the diviner was talking about Feng Ling. Many people looked at her. Was she that strong? Feng Xian and Shui Baiyao glanced at each other. That was all? They bowed anyways and moved back. In the cultivation world, most strong cultivators were men indeed. Feng Ling, everybody remembered her name. Maybe in a few years after, she'd be a dazzling cultivator. Otherwise, the diviner wouldn't have said that. The diviner continued telling everyone about their futures. Finally, only a few people were left. However, he hadn't told anyone they had the potential to become a great emperor yet. Becoming a great emperor was incredibly difficult. In the Ba Huang province, there were no great emperors. Even those who had potential in the past had left Ba Huang province to become great emperors elsewhere. What about me? Said Huang Fulong, looking carefree and unrestrained. However, he was clenching his fists. He also attached a lot of importance to what the diviner could say. Don't change anything, brutal dragon body, go and travel the world, said the diviner, smiling indifferently. The crowd was surprised. Huang Fulong was one of the weakest cultivators there, but he had a brutal dragon body. Lin Feng smiled. He was happy for Huang Fulong. Huang Fulong also had a special body. His body couldn't be any weaker than the celestial dragon body. The diviner looked at Zhu Nemo Shi and Xiao Dai. He said to Xiao Dai, You need to heal first, you've been hurt by people. If you recover, you'll have the potential to become an empress. Xiao Dai smiled, she didn't mind. She looked at Zhu Nemo Shi. She knew that Zhu Nemo Shi's future was bright. Some other people with immortal bodies had appeared in the Ba Huang province, but her grandfather had chosen Zhu Nemo Shi as a descendant. When the diviner looked at Zhu Nemo Shi, he looked at him with a deep and unfathomable smile. People with immortal bodies are rare, but your body is extremely rare. You have an imperial immortal body, you should have no problem becoming an upper emperor. In the future you should leave Ba Huang province and make efforts to become a great emperor, said the diviner, smiling. The crowd was astonished, an imperial immortal body. It was no wonder the emperor of the celestial palace of immortals, who had lived for such a long time, had chosen him. Jun She was the first person to whom the diviner said he had the potential to become a great emperor. None of the 10 strongest cultivators of Ba Huang had been so lucky. Many people in the crowd also noticed that the diviner was looking at them in a certain way, which meant that they shouldn't come to him. That way, they wouldn't feel humiliated. However, the diviner also took the initiative to call a few people who didn't come out by themselves. The diviner looked at Kong Ming, the last of the 10 strongest cultivators from Ba Huang. What was he going to tell him? "Please keep my future confidential, master," said Kong Ming the Buddhist monk. The crowd was staring at him. Confidential? What kind of secret could Kong Ming from the Celestial Thunder Temple have? "All right," said the diviner, smiling before adding, "You are way too strong for the Ba Huang province." The crowd was astonished. Everybody stared at Kong Ming. Was he that strong? Did he have an incredible body like Jun Shi? Since Kong Ming wanted to keep his secrets confidential, the diviner didn't say much. He just looked at Lin Feng and Meng Qing. "Please respect confidentiality, master," said Lin Feng. The crowd was astonished again. Confidential? The diviner's facial expression looked strange too. He smiled at Lin Feng and Meng Qing and said, "You want me to keep her future confidential or yours?" "My future?" Lin Feng was surprised. Was he really going to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies? Otherwise, what would he have to hide? He was obviously talking about Meng Qing's social status. She was Shui Ling Long after all. "All right, come individually," said the diviner, looking at Meng Qing and saying, "Since you love him that much, your future is in his hands. You alone are incredibly talented too." "Another extremely strong cultivator?" thought the crowd, looking at Meng Qing. They couldn't keep calm. "And you," said the diviner, looking at Lin Feng and smiling, "has anyone ever told you what your special body is?" Lin Feng didn't know he had a special body? "It seems you don't know," said the diviner, smiling. He continued, "All right, since you want me to keep things secret, I'll just ask one thing. Are you willing to become my disciple?" Boom! The crowd was astonished. They burst into an uproar. His disciple? The diviner was asking Lin Feng to become his disciple. Had such a thing ever happened? And what was Lin Feng's special body? Chapter 1196. The end of the event in Fortune City. What did he say to Lin Feng? Yang Zilan, who was outside the area, looked extremely nervous. The diviner was looking at Lin Feng, so he was probably telling him his future, and the crowd had seemingly burst into an uproar. Something big was happening. "Maybe the diviner told him he's a piece of trash?" said Xian Yuan aggressively. "Maybe." Yang Zilan stared at Lin Feng and nodded, trying to cheer himself up. The crowd had burst into an uproar, which wasn't surprising. The last people for whom the diviner had made his predictions were all stronger than the previous ones. Huang Fulong with his brutal dragon body, Jun Shi with his imperial immortal body, who could become a great emperor. If he didn't die, he'd soon be one of the 10 strongest cultivators of Ba Huang. Then Kong Ming the Buddhist monk. The diviner had looked at him in a way which meant he was incredibly strong. He wasn't weaker than Jun Shi at least. Could it be that their future was bright because they practiced ancient Buddhist cultivation? "Can I reply later?" Lin Feng smiled. The diviner was incredible. Being close to him couldn't be a bad thing. "You can," said the diviner, smiling. He then transmitted memories to Lin Feng's third eye, smiled and said, "When you make it to the holy city, go to the Fortune Shrine to find me." "I meant what I said today." Fortune Shrine. Lin Feng was speechless. He glanced at the Dragon King and Duan Wu Dao, who had heard the diviner's predictions. In their era, the Fortune Shrine had existed already. Was it the same as in the antiquity? Everybody was astonished. The diviner had taken out an olive branch and gave it to Lin Feng. The diviner was from the holy city and had admitted that the Fortune Shrine really existed. What kind of place was it? And why Lin Feng? Everybody was staring at Lin Feng. Long Teng, the Thunderbird, and other similar people wanted to kill him right there. "We need to kill him before he becomes too strong," thought many people. They had to kill him so that he would become nothing at all. "Congratulations, Prince Lin," said Yiren Lei, smiling at Lin Feng in a resplendent way. Lin Feng smiled back at her, but he was kind of shocked. Did he have a special body? Was it because he was able to understand several sorts of abstruse energies? What does his future look like? Asked a Taoist monk at that moment. Fu Hei was next to him and thought, what a bastard. The crowd looked at him, they had no particular impression. He looked like an ordinary cultivator. The only one who knew how strong he was Fu Hei. He would never forget Qiongqi. But everybody was interested in hearing the reply, what would Lin Feng become? He can decide what he wants to become. Maybe he'll be a lower emperor, maybe an average emperor, maybe a great emperor, maybe, said the diviner while smiling indifferently and pinching his mustache. His calmness made the crowd shiver. He was the only one who could decide what he wanted to become. That was the first time the diviner said that about someone. What did it mean? The atmosphere had suddenly become an eerie silence. Maybe Lin Feng would become an emperor or a great emperor, he could decide. Hee, it makes me want to have a few drinks, said Huang Fulong smiling, breaking the silence. Lin Feng, Zhu Nemoshi and Huang Fulong had all received great predictions. Maybe they'd become incredible cultivators in the world. Too bad Yunfei Yang and you weren't there. It's your turn, said the diviner to the Taoist monk. The Taoist monk's eyes were twinkling. Did he need the diviner to tell him his future? Since you are protecting him, maybe you'll be able to break your fetters and handcuffs. I'm convinced you understand what I mean, said the diviner, smiling at Qiongqi and pointing at Lin Feng. Qiongqi was incredulous and said, damn diviner. It seems like I, a great emperor, will have to be on his side my entire life. You're not joking, right? Asked Qiongqi, staring back at the diviner. You can put your life at stake and check if I was right or not, said the diviner, smiling. Qiongqi rolled his eyes. He used to be a heroic emperor, now he had to depend on Lin Feng. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. Maybe he'd become a lower emperor or an average emperor or an emperor. He clenched his fists and closed his eyes. He felt determined. Even if the diviner had said it, it all depended on him. It meant that he had to persist. He'd eventually dazzle the entire continent of the 9 clouds someday. Alright, I'm done. I told you all what I thought about your special bodies, abilities, talent, intent, etc. If you change, go through hardships and life-changing experiences, if you experience death, etc., maybe what I've told you will be completely different from what you will really become. 4 more golden arrows appeared in the air. 1 was shot at Huang Fulong, 1 at Zhu Nemoshi, and 2 at Kong Ming. 9 watchers were there, but only 8 had shot arrows. Lin Feng looked at the one who hadn't shot any arrows. That probably meant that it was his protector. Many people sighed because Lin Feng had told the diviner to tell him his future personally. He hadn't received an arrow, but because Kong Ming had asked not to receive the predictions, 2 arrows had been shot at him. Some people are selfish and wanted to hear the predictions alone, while some others refused to listen at all. Predictions are one thing, but some geniuses will die young even though the diviner told them they'd have a great future, said someone in an ice-cold way, reminding the crowd that Lin Feng had asked to hear his predictions alone. The diviner wanted to have Lin Feng as a disciple, which meant that he'd become extremely strong. Some people were not going to let him off after this. Nobody could know if Lin Feng would become an emperor or not. If Lin Feng had accepted to become the emperor's disciple, his life could have been different, but he only wanted to know about his future and didn't care about the present. Therefore, Kong Ming from the Celestial Thunder Temple, who also had a terrifying special body, had more chances to live longer than Lin Feng. That's why the watchers had shot 2 arrows at him. Outside, the crowd was trying to understand what had just happened inside. From what they had seen, Kong Ming was the real winner of the event. Zhu Nemoshi and Huang Fulong had also surprised them, at least compared to the others who were some of the 10 strongest cultivators of Ba Huang. Shen Yuan and Yang Zilan were smiling in a resplendent way. It seems he's just a piece of trash in the end. Yang Zilan laughed. When the diviner and Lin Feng were talking, the crowd had burst into an uproar, but the watchers hadn't shot any arrow at Lin Feng, which meant he was a piece of trash and not a genius. Shen Yuan groaned coldly. The diviner looked at the watchers and smiled. You all have your own protectors, I don't need to tell you your futures. The event is over. When you leave the illusion, don't forget to continue practicing cultivation and to stay determined and persistent," said the diviner, gradually disappearing. Fortune City also gradually disappeared. "Where do you come from and where are you going?" shouted someone. Then they all realized they were not in Fortune City anymore. They were in a desert and a mist was lying about. They were where Fortune City used to be. "Since you said I was similar to those people, I will kill them and become stronger. I, Mo Peng, will definitely become a great emperor and amaze the world." In the sky above one of the 4 ancient cities which surrounded Fortune City, there was a golden great oriental greenfinch rock who didn't believe the diviner's predictions. In another city, there were Qi Tiansheng and Qi Jiaojiao. Qi Tiansheng looked sad when he said in a cold way, "Since he said I wasn't as strong as them, I'll kill them and replace them." The strongest cultivators of the province were furious. "Lin Feng, get ready to die." After coming out of Fortune City, Xian Yuan still wanted to kill Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, no matter what your special body is, no matter what you could become, I'll kill you and the predictions will just be empty words," said the thunderbird in the sky somewhere above. "Lin Feng, I will find you before you become too strong. There won't be any incredible geniuses in Tiantai," said Long Teng in the sky somewhere as well. As many people had expected, everyone wanted to kill Lin Feng after the event in Fortune City. Chapter 1197. Zhang. At that moment, Yiren Lei was in the sky and she was smiling in a resplendent way. "Everything will change," said Yiren Lei with a resplendent smile. The diviner had told them everything would change and that a new era was going to start. Celestial dragon body, celestial body, ancient phoenix body, fire body, brutal dragon body, celestial eyes body, imperial immortal body, the Watchers, the 7 assassins, Feng Ling, Meng Qing, Kong Ming, Lin Feng. All of those people would become the strongest cultivators of the Ba Huang province. Of course, the strongest cultivators of Ba Huang who were disappointed by the diviner would try to destroy the others who had been luckier. In that way, they'd prove how strong they really were and would remain at the top of the rankings. Jun Mo Shi, Lin Feng and so on would be able to rest freely in the future. Surprisingly, Lin Feng is one of the strongest cultivators. "I had never heard of him before and neither had many others," said Yiren Lei. Then she disappeared. Lin Feng and the others were between Fortune City and Sword City, in front of a few palaces. They looked at the mist where Fortune City should have been, and sighed. When would be the next time Fortune City appeared? Meng Qing, Huang Fulong, Qiong Qi and the others were standing next to Lin Feng, but Qiong Qi was still disguised as the Taoist monk and he seemed unhappy. "Little bastard, you'll have to be very careful from now on. Many people will want to kill you," said Qiong Qi. "I know," said Lin Feng nodding. Even though the diviner had told him his future would be bright, he mentioned that he first had to stay alive. Some people were heading towards them. They were 2 of the 4 most beautiful women of the Ba Huang province, Feng Xian and Shui Baiyao. "Lin Feng, I wouldn't have thought that you'd be so strong," said Feng Xian nodding at Lin Feng. "You're the same. The diviner told you that if you controlled your emotions, you would be able to reach the clouds. I hope you'll prove him right," replied Lin Feng smiling. "Of course, my sister will become an empress," said Feng Ling sticking out her tongue. Lin Feng looked at Feng Ling and smiled. From what the diviner had said, it was very probable that Feng Ling would become incredible. From what the diviner has said, you could become a terrifying cultivator. "I hope there won't be any tensions between you and the celestial land of alchemists," said Shui Baiyao, saying what was on her mind. There were some small problems building between Lin Feng and the celestial land of alchemists. If they had known that the diviner would predict such a bright future for Lin Feng, they might not have humiliated him before. "If the celestial land of alchemists doesn't attack me anymore, we can be friends," said Lin Feng smiling warmly. Shui Baiyao nodded. She would try her best to maintain friendly relations with Lin Feng. "I can't wait to fight against you again someday, Lin Feng. Even though the diviner said you were going to be extremely strong, I hope we'll have the opportunity to fight again. I still need to get my revenge after all," said Shui Baiyao, then she left. "Anytime," whispered Lin Feng. I also need to take Feng Ling back to Qifeng Mountain. After all the things we learnt in Fortune City, we need to practice cultivation in peace for a while. Next time everybody comes out, they'll probably all be extremely strong. Lin Feng, good luck, said Feng Xian, smiling in a friendly way. It was rare to see her smile like that. Then Feng Ling and Feng Xian left. Of course, nobody knew apart from the geniuses themselves who had talked to the diviner. Lin Feng, finally, you came out. Two people had arrived, Lin Ruotian and Meng Ba. They smiled and said, Lin Feng, how are you? What did the diviner tell you? Lin Ruotian and Meng Ba were a bit annoyed. There were too many strong cultivators in Fortune City, and even though they benefited a lot from being there, they had encountered dangerous cultivators a few times and almost died. In the end, they weren't able to go to the 5 elemental areas, so they were blocked outside. But at the end, they saw Lin Feng talking to the diviner from outside. He said I'd become a great emperor, said Lin Feng, smiling. Lin Ruotian and Meng Ba rolled their eyes. They didn't believe Lin Feng. Becoming a great emperor wasn't that easy. If the diviner told someone they'd become an emperor, that was already not bad. If he said they could become an average emperor, that was even more amazing. They couldn't imagine the diviner telling someone they could become a great emperor. Lin Feng, even if the diviner told you that you don't have the potential to become an emperor, you have to continue taking care of yourself and further your cultivation, said Lin Ruotian, trying to cheer Lin Feng up. Lin Ruotian already thought that having been to the 5 elemental areas and talking to the diviner was already amazing. Even if the diviner had told Lin Feng he couldn't become an emperor, he still had to continue practicing cultivation. At least then he'd have the opportunity to become a strong Zun cultivator. That's right, Lin Feng. Look, Lin Ruotian and I didn't make it to the 5 elemental areas, but we're not giving up either. At least, if that can cheer you up, you're stronger than us, said Meng Ba, tapping Lin Feng's shoulder. He smiled and added, besides, now that you have broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer, you'll absolutely become a strong Zun cultivator. You'll even be able to live somewhere in the Ba Huang province and have your own clan. I understand, said Lin Feng, smiling and tapping his friend's shoulders. It was useless to tell them anything, they wouldn't believe him anyways. Lin Ruotian and Meng Ba saw that Lin Feng didn't feel sad, so they smiled and said, we're going back to Tiantai to practice cultivation, are you coming with us? You go first. I have some things to do first, said Lin Feng, shaking his head. All right, we're off then, said Meng Ba and Lin Ruotian. They didn't want to make Lin Feng feel sad, so they didn't ask about the diviner again. They would know sooner or later anyways. Lin Feng looked at Huang Fulong and asked, Huang Fulong, do you still intend to join Tiantai? Not anymore. The diviner said I should go explore the world, and I believe him. I'm going to travel instead, said Huang Fulong, shaking his head. That was good, they were good friends, but they couldn't be together all the time. Everybody needed to take their own path. After reaching the clouds, they'd be able to see each other often and have fun then. When are you leaving? Lin Feng, take good care of yourself. In the future, Junimo Shi, you and I will rule over the Ba Huang province. We'll also find you and Fei Yang, said Huang Fulong. They bumped fists and then Huang Fulong left. We will, said Lin Feng as he watched disappear into the distance. Little bastard, I'm off too. I need to find a fireplace to practice at. I'll come back to find you, said Qiong Qi. The diviner had told him he'd be with Lin Feng for a while, and that annoyed him. You too, come with me, said Qiong Qi, talking to Duan Wu Dao and the Dragon King. All right, don't become too strong too fast, said Lin Feng. Qiong Qi groaned as he left. He needed a powerful fire to level up. Maybe Fire Mountain in the western part of Ba Huang would be suitable for him. Where are we going? Asked Meng Qing. To Jianghe, replied Lin Feng. Then they too left. Someone had made it back to Jianghe before Lin Feng, Jian Wu Bei. He had questions he wanted to ask the elders of Jianghe. Jianghe's people had heard that the event in Fortune City was over and couldn't wait to hear back about it. Wu Bei, how did it go? Asked an elder. The diviner told me my future. He said I could become a lower emperor and that I had to change my ways of practicing cultivation, replied Jian Wu Bei. He wanted to understand what he had done wrong and what he had to change. "What about him?" asked the old man. Everybody understood he was talking about Lin Feng. It seemed like he cared more about Lin Feng's future than about Jian Wu Bei's. Jian Wu Bei sighed indifferently. His clan only cared about their ancestor's sword. The diviner asked him to become his disciple. He couldn't predict his future because he can decide whatever he wants to do with his life, replied Jian Wu Bei. The elder's eyes twinkled with sharp lights. As expected, Jiang had hope. The diviner hadn't been able to predict Lin Feng's future because Lin Feng was their ancestor's sword. All right, said the old man before asking, how did he reply to the diviner? He said he wanted to wait and talk about it later. Not bad, that's his personality. Even without the diviner, he was equally going to become a monstrous cultivator, said the old man, who's rather excited. He was very satisfied. Chapter 1198, Sword Emperor's Path. When Lin Feng arrived in Jianghe, he realized that the gate was open and found that there were guards at the entrance, waiting for him. Lin Feng remained calm. He was still holding Meng Qing's hand. Meng Qing was surprised though. Jianghe's people were all looking at Lin Feng in such a respectful and polite way. She was curious to know what had happened. And just the opposite, when the strong cultivators of Jianghe saw Meng Qing, they were stunned. The ancestor's sword had come back with a woman? Young master, said the old leader bowing. The other elders also bowed in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. He looked proud as he continued walking past them. Young master, who is she? Asked the strong cultivator. Lin Feng's Tianji sword suddenly appeared and shot out towards the strong cultivator. Boom! That person was shook, but had blocked the sword with his hand as if it was easy. Even then, he looked scared and said, Forgive me, young master. The ancestor's sword has an explosive personality. The others were astonished. They thought they were looking at a young Emperor Wu Tianjian. They had heard stories of his past, after all. I told you, I'm now in Lin Feng's body, so I'm Lin Feng. I have my own life, so you can't ask me about my personal life, said Lin Feng coldly. Even though he wasn't that strong compared to the elders, he was still impressive. I won't, said the old man, lowering his head. When they saw that Lin Feng had broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer and how explosive his sword was, they were even more convinced that Jianghe would revive because of him. They had been waiting for this time for thousands of years. Lin Feng groaned coldly and recalled his Tianji sword. Then, Meng Qing, and he continued walking ahead. Lin Feng said indifferently, I'm going back to the grave. Nobody can follow me, and besides, from now on, I don't need anyone to guard the grave. Lin Feng was now like a deity in Jianghe, so people listened to him. He then disappeared into the depths of Jianghe. Jian Wu Bei was behind the crowd and he had watched Lin Feng disappear in the distance, grinding his teeth. He had always hoped he'd be the one who would revive the clan, but Lin Feng was the glorious one now. Everyone only paid attention to Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't think too much about it. Jianghe had hoped he'd become the sword's slave. Now his slaves were Jianghe's people. Why would he be happy about that? Lin Feng took Meng Qing into the grave. The qi from the mud wasn't as dazzling, but the old man was still inside. He looked tired. He was sitting on his broom and he looked sad. Master, said Lin Feng with a faint smile. You're back, said the old man. He put his hand against the wall and slowly stood up. He seemed to have difficulty standing up. Lin Feng rushed over and helped the old man stand up, then he wiped the dust off the old man's shoulders. The old man smiled and said, I'm getting old. I don't know when I'll die. The old man coughed with his hands in front of his mouth. He seemed even worse off than last time Lin Feng had been there. He stretched out his hands and looked at them. There was blood on them. The old man hadn't lied about his health before. Master, Lin Feng had always thought the old man had pretended to be sick, but now that he was coughing blood, he wasn't so sure. The old man was a really strong cultivator, so if he was sick, he could be beyond help. I'm all right, I've been sick for many years, said the old man smiling. Then he walked towards the depths of the grave. Lin Feng and Meng Qing followed him. They walked towards the room where the sword was buried before. When they entered the room, the door closed itself automatically and the old man sat down again. Lin Feng also sat down. Is she your girlfriend? My wife, replied Lin Feng. Not bad. You're lucky to have Xueling Long as your wife, said the old man. Meng Qing and Lin Feng glanced at each other. This old man was definitely not ordinary. The old man had recognized Xueling Long at first sight. Master, your sickness, said Lin Feng. Since the old man had recognized Meng Qing, he was probably incredibly strong, beyond what they could imagine. So his sickness was probably serious. Don't worry. I've been sick for a long time, said the old man, shaking his head. Master, let's see if you can use this, said Lin Feng. He shook his hand and a blue jade appeared. It was the tear stain filled with vitality energy. The tear stain of life, whispered the old man. He smiled and said, You got it in Fortune City, right? Not bad. But it's not powerful enough for me. You're very kind though, keep it for yourself. Not powerful enough. Lin Feng smiled wryly. The old man was probably really sick. Show me how much you progressed in Fortune City. All right, nodded Lin Feng and took out his Tianji sword and released all its energies. The old man looked surprised and nodded. All right, it must have been difficult. You probably suffered a lot to achieve that. It seems like raising a sword is no problem for you anymore. Raising my sword isn't a problem, but outside of Fortune City, it won't be easy to find places suitable for it, said Lin Feng, recalling his sword. There are opportunities everywhere. I have a series of skills which belong to Emperor Wu Tianjian here. Are you interested? Asked the old man, smiling at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was surprised. Of course he wouldn't refuse. I am very interested, of course, replied Lin Feng. All right, I'll transmit them to you, said the old man, opening his third eye. A light appeared and moved to Lin Feng's third eye, then many memories flooded his mind. He calmly inspected them, but his eyes twinkled with sharp sword lights. Cleansing the heart from mortal affairs, at peace with oneself, no sword, no ego, a sword in the hand, defying human and divine laws, said Lin Feng. He sighed and said, The Sword Emperor was a peerless son of heaven. What do you think? Asked the old man to Lin Feng. The emperor had a pure heart, no ego, and he was at peace with himself, but when he had his sword in his hand, he could defy the laws of the universe, said Lin Feng. His words came from his heart. Do you need any sword techniques or skills? Asked the old man. I don't, said Lin Feng, shaking his head before adding, I walk my own path in terms of sword cultivation. I am not as strong as the Sword Emperor was, but I will shape my destiny as a sword cultivator and someday I'll create my own sword skills, said Lin Feng. The old man smiled and nodded. Emperor Wu Tianjian had never studied ancestors' techniques. He had raised his sword for 10 years, next he had cleansed his heart from impurities, and then he had created his own destiny as a sword cultivator. Chapter 1199. When you miss me, we can see each other. Sword grave. Meng Qing and Lin Feng were alone now. The old man had gone outside with his broom and was thinking about various things. Lin Feng was wearing a beautiful, dazzling empty space robe. Empty space robe. Lin Feng had been in the grave for 7 days already, and he was modifying that holy weapon the entire time. He could already control empty space abstruse energies, so he could modify that holy weapon to make it more suitable. Even though he could only modify it a little bit because his cultivation level was lacking, he was already very satisfied. Lin Feng's silhouette then suddenly disappeared and then he reappeared again. Now he could hide using his robe by opening the doors to other spaces and coming back. The empty space robe could also help Lin Feng understand empty space energies. Lin Feng took out the tear stain again for a cultivator of the Tianqi layer. Such a treasure was precious. He could use it to heal or heal other people. Unfortunately, he couldn't use it on the old man though. Take it, said Lin Feng to Meng Qing. Last time she had refused, but now he wanted to force her. With me or with you, is there any difference? Asked Meng Qing, smiling gently. When Lin Feng saw her smile, his heart melted and he couldn't act firm any longer with her. He just smiled wryly and put it away. Let's leave, said Lin Feng, walking towards the old man. Go, said the old man. His eyes were closed and he said that at the same time as Lin Feng talked. Lin Feng didn't say anything. He just bowed in front of the old man and then Meng Qing and he left. Young master, an old guard was outside. He bowed respectfully in front of Lin Feng when he saw him. Help me by getting me something to travel with. I need to travel far away and quickly, said Lin Feng coldly and arrogantly. The old man replied politely, please wait, I'll get something for you. I'll wait for you outside of Jiang'a, said Lin Feng. After a few hours, a few old men came out and a sword appeared in front of Lin Feng. An old man shook his hand and the sword enlarged. It could accommodate 100 people. Genius, thought Lin Feng. He had just said one sentence and Jiang'a offered him an incredible treasure. Young master, that sword is easy to modify and it's easy to control, plus it's extremely fast. Alright, said Lin Feng nodding. He allowed his godly awareness to establish a connection to it. You can go, I'll contact you if I'm in trouble. There will be no need to look for me, said Lin Feng indifferently. After saying that, Meng Qing and Lin Feng jumped on the sword, and then condensed pure qi around the sword. In a flash, sword qi bellowed out and the sword streaked across the sky. It was even faster than the Yang clan's boats. What a terrifying speed, thought Lin Feng and Meng Qing. A strong wind was brushing against them and it slightly hurt. Jiang'a was too generous to him. Back in Tiantai, people were gradually coming back. Many of the 81 disciples of the first batch were from rich families, so they had vehicles to travel faster. At the same time, many people throughout Ba Huang province were trying to know more about what had happened in Fortune City. However, all they learnt was who had seen the diviner. They knew nothing about who had been shot by the Watcher's golden arrows or what the diviner had said. Nobody was willing to talk about that. Those who had seen the diviner were incredible cultivators, and those who weren't satisfied with the predictions didn't want to mention what had happened. Those who had received incredible predictions were not interested in glory, they were focused on becoming stronger cultivators. Therefore, it was difficult to know what had really happened there. Kong Ming had been shot by 2 golden arrows, so he the diviner had probably predicted an incredible future for him. The crowd was surprised by Jun Mo Shi and Huang Fulong because they weren't amongst the top 10 strongest cultivators of the Ba Huang province. They probably possessed special bodies. Ba Huang province was quite calm those days. Those who had come back from Fortune City were resting and practicing cultivation in isolation. Next time they'd come out, they'd be even stronger and they'd amaze the entire province. A whistling sword appeared in the sky above Tiantai. Many people raised their heads and saw that gigantic sword. Lin Feng is back. Lin Feng has seen the diviner, said Lin Ruotian to his fellow disciples when he saw Lin Feng riding that giant sword. He, the first Tian-level disciple of Tiantai, not bad. I wonder what the diviner told him, said everybody smiling in a friendly way. Then the sword descended, both Lin Feng and Meng Qing jumped off it. Many people were astonished when they saw Meng Qing. She looked like a goddess. Was she really Lin Feng's wife? Lin Feng, brother, tell us what the diviner told you. We're curious. Many people had been stuck outside and had only seen the diviner talking to Lin Feng. They hadn't heard what he said. Everyone who went inside could become an emperor as long as they didn't get killed. That's pretty much what the diviner said, replied Lin Feng smiling. Everybody could become an emperor? How scary, whispered someone. Yes, many people had special bodies: celestial body, phoenix body, brutal dragon body, celestial dragon body, imperial immortal body. Also, many people had asked the diviner to keep his predictions confidential, explained Lin Feng. What about you? What did he tell you? Asked someone smiling. They hoped Tiantai wouldn't be weaker than any of the other groups of influence. He said my wife and I had the potential to become great emperors, said Lin Feng smiling. Everybody's mouth twitched. Then they said, come on, stop showing off. In the Ba Huang province, there hasn't been a great emperor for a very long time. Great emperors reign over the world, after all. Stop bragging. Everybody was laughing mockingly because they didn't believe Lin Feng. Lin Feng shrugged and said nothing else. He liked the atmosphere in Tiantai though. At that moment, everything suddenly became very calm because in the distance, someone had appeared. It was a woman who looked both graceful and elegant. You Xian, said Lin Feng when he saw her. Xian Yi? When Meng Qing saw her, she thought it was Xian Yi. I'm not Xian Yi, but seems like I really look like her, said Qiu Yu Xian shaking her head. My name is Qiu Yu Xian. Are you Lin Feng's wife? You're so beautiful. Why do I have the feeling I know her too? Thought Qiu Yu Xian confused. She had seen them in Fortune City, and the first time she saw Meng Qing, she had had a familiar feeling as if she knew her. You're not Xian Yi. Meng Qing was confused, their qi was different, but why did they look exactly the same? Lin Feng. Qiu Yu Xian smiled and walked to Lin Feng. He wanted to say something, but Qiu Yu Xian smiled and said, I came to talk about something else. I want to go back to my clan. You're leaving? Lin Feng was surprised. Indeed, they want me to go back, said Qiu Yu Xian nodding and smiling. Lin Feng remained silent. He didn't know what to say. I'm off. You and your wife are a perfect match, said Qiu Yu Xian. Then she turned around and left. Yu Xian, said Lin Feng running after her. When are we going to see each other again? Qiu Yu Xian turned around and smiled in a carefree way. When you miss me, we can see each other again. Then she took out the boat that Lin Feng had given to her, jumped into it and left waving goodbye to Lin Feng. However, even though she was smiling, Lin Feng saw tears rolling down her face. When you miss me, we can see each other, whispered Lin Feng. Then, Meng Qing sat next to him. She looked at him and she didn't look happy when she said, You broke a girl's heart. Lin Feng smiled wryly. Lin Feng didn't have time to react. If you miss her, go and make her come back, said Meng Qing lowering her hand. Lin Feng grabbed Meng Qing's small hand. Chapter 1200. Qiu Yu Xian's Drastic Change. Tiantai was calm as many people were practicing cultivation, especially those who had been to Fortune City. They were enjoying the powerful qi from Tiantai to become stronger. Nobody asked about Fortune City, people only cared about their own cultivation in Tiantai. The direct disciples and the Zun-level disciples also had their own things to do. Meng Qing stayed in Lin Feng's palace. There were plenty of historical vestiges, so it was perfect for Meng Qing to practice. Lin Feng wasn't there though. He was on his sword, leaving Tiantai and going north. He needed to find a way to become stronger on the path of sword cultivation. 10 days later, someone saw a gigantic mountain in the northern part of Ba Huang, burning. Some people said that a young man was practicing cultivation there. He had a dazzling sword and released scorching hot sunfire energies. A month later, a strong wind blew in those mountains. Someone saw a young man sitting cross-legged. He looked to be 20 or 21. He could release wind energies which could kill low-level Zun cultivators. His sword also looked terrifying as his wind energies. However, by the time the crowd had heard about that, the young man had left already. Only some of his energies remained. People couldn't go anywhere near that mountain. Even ordinary Zun cultivators couldn't get near it. 3 months later, on the edge of the Huang Sea, where few people dare go, there was a very strong and violent wind. There were many corpses buried there. They were all decomposing from the desolate qi of the Huang Sea. A middle-aged man walked over there. He was astonished to find 2 silhouettes there. They looked like they were dead, but they also looked like they were still alive. He was curious and decided to go closer. Gulp! The middle-aged man was a cultivator of the first Zun qi layer, but when he saw that, he was astonished and could barely breathe. His face turned deathly pale. Dead people who had come back to life? Tap, tap. He took a few more steps forwards and saw a young man. His hair was messy, but he looked clean otherwise. He looked to be 20 to 21 years old. The young man realized someone was observing him, so he glanced at him calmly. This glance alone made the middle-aged man's heart race. Then, the young man rose up in the air and left. Which incredible group is that young man from? Thought the middle-aged Zun cultivator. He walked further and his face turned even paler. Cursed corpses. The middle-aged man's silhouette immediately flickered. He ran as far and as fast as he could, as if he had seen something beyond terrifying. The young man didn't mind. He was going northwards on the Huang Sea. The Huang Sea's qi didn't affect him. Instead, he opened his mouth and swallowed the desolate qi. Finally, the young man saw some boats, but they didn't look as good as those fabricated by boat experts. Those boats seemed like they were made to carry only one person at a time. It was quite rare to see that in the Huang Sea. Whistling sounds spread in the air. Those people on boats raised their heads and saw a young man flying above the Huang Sea. Then, the young man dived straight into the sea. Had he killed himself? Why would an outstanding young man want to kill himself? Thought an old man sighing. That young man looked very young and strong. Maybe he's extremely depressed or injured, otherwise, such an outstanding young man wouldn't kill himself. Maybe his heart is broken, said someone else trying to guess. Gentlemen, look, he's coming back out, he didn't die. At that moment, the crowd was incredulous. The young man came back out of the water. How's that possible? Even low-level Zune cultivators would die if they did that. Those people frowned. Maybe that he didn't want to commit suicide? Gentlemen, he's got a sword with him, said someone else. The young man was surfing the waves and a sword was following behind him. Hurry up, hurry and go find the leader. They were astonished. How come that young man didn't die? Now he had lied down on the sea. What was he doing? Was he practicing cultivation? Was he studying? However, at some point, he disappeared and they couldn't find him anymore. What's going on? After a short while, a Zune cultivator arrived and asked the cultivators, Master, we saw someone practicing cultivation in the middle of the sea, said someone. What cultivation level? Peak of the Tian Qi layer. Impossible. Tian level cultivators die when they enter the Huang Sea. I saw it with my own eyes, said a man. I'll go and see, said the cultivator who walked in that direction, came back and shook his head. It's too scary, I can't go either. If there's a wave, it could kill me. I still don't believe you. He can't be a Tian level cultivator, said the old man. They remained silent. Where was that young man? He was so far into the middle of the sea. Time passed slowly. Half a year passed since the end of the events in Fortune City. Some geniuses started to show themselves again. In the northern part of Ba Huang, two pieces of gossip shocked the entire province. The first was about Qiu Xin, who apparently, half a year before had changed, and in those 6 months had leveled up extremely quickly. She was now either at the very top of the Tianqi layer or she had already broken through to the Zunqi layer. Nobody knew what had happened to her exactly. The other gossip was about Xian Yuan. Xian Yuan had apparently gone to Tian Tai and had killed any Tian-level cultivator he encountered. He was still furious and felt humiliated because of what had happened before. Some people said he did that because Lin Feng wasn't there. Otherwise, Lin Feng could have killed him already. However, the strong cultivators of Tian Tai didn't care and didn't do anything to stop him. Chapter 12:01. Uncle Lin. Some more time passed and the news that Qiu Xen had broken through to the Zunqi layer was common knowledge. Many people were thinking that it was such a pity that Qiu Xen hadn't seen the diviner, otherwise he would have told her how strong she'd become. She was rising so quickly in the northern part of Ba Huang. As the news spread, Qiu Xen also became famous in the other regions of the Ba Huang province. Some rumors even said that incredible geniuses from very powerful families wanted to marry her. The northern part of Ba Huang had been calm for a while, but with that news, things would surely start stirring again. Concerning Xian Yuan, he wasn't that weak, it was the opposite actually. After being kicked out from Tian Tai, he practiced cultivation diligently. 6 months after leaving Fortune City, he broke through to the 9th Tianqi layer. Then he became extremely aggressive and kept saying that Lin Feng didn't have the balls to face him. Xian Yuan only said such things because he knew Tian Tai couldn't do anything against him. They were the only group of influence with an emperor in the northern part of Ba Huang, so if they sent strong cultivators to kill him, it'd be a humiliation to them. Unless Tian-level cultivators from Tian Tai came out, he'd continue to cause trouble. Everyone in Tian Tai had placed high hopes on Lin Feng. However, it seemed like Lin Feng had disappeared from the scene and nobody had seen him in 6 months. Some people said that Lin Feng was hiding and didn't fight because he was scared of Xian Yuan. After all, even though Lin Feng had ranked first at the recruitment process of Tian Tai, his cultivation level was low. By now, he couldn't have become that much stronger. He probably still couldn't fight Xian Yuan, who had broken through to the 9th Tianqi layer. Some people also wondered what would have happened if Qiu Yuxian had been in Tiantai and not with her family when Xian Yuan came to attack Tiantai. Lin Feng knew nothing about what was happening in the outside world. He had completely isolated himself from the outside world and was in the middle of the Huang Sea, where he had practiced cultivation for the past few months. Finally, he came back to the mainland and walked around without a goal. He watched sunsets and sunrises, he observed temperature and weather changes, all the while understanding wind, fire and thunder energies. From time to time, Lin Feng took out his Tianji sword and practiced cultivation with it in the wind and rain, or storms. One man, one sword, wandering around seemingly aimlessly. Lin Feng walked and walked, in the sea and on the land. Wandering like that, he discovered how vast the Ba Huang province was. He walked in the sea and on land for half a year and still hadn't left the northern part of Ba Huang. There was a small village at the border between the northern part of Ba Huang and the western part of Ba Huang. There weren't many inhabitants there, somewhere around 1,000. In the morning, when people woke up, they followed the only high-level cultivator of the Tianqi layer they had in the village and practiced cultivation with him at the foot of a mountain. The morning sun was shining on their bodies. The atmosphere was relaxing. The cultivator was around 40, but because he was strong, he looked like he was 30. He was teaching the crowd skills and techniques, fighting techniques and other sorts of things. All sorts of people received his teachings. The youngest ones were 5-6 years old, while there were also people who were 30, 40, etc. Uncle Lin, the master is extremely strong, don't you want to study? Asked someone. It was a cute child. She was raising her head and talking to a young man who was sitting on a stone chair. It was impossible to tell how old Uncle Lin was. He could have been 20 or 30. He had long messy hair which made it look like he didn't take care of himself. He even had a beard. However, his eyes looked sharp. The young man looked at the cute child who was probably 3 or 4 years old. He stretched his hand, grabbed the child and hugged it. He pinched the child's cheek, smiled and said, "Uncle is stupid, he cannot study. Xiaoqin, soon when you grow up, you'll study with the master." You liar, Mommy and Auntie say that even though you've never fought, you're actually really strong. And what does Uncle Su say about me? Does he think I'm strong? Asked the young man looking at the cute child. Uncle Su says he doesn't know, maybe that you really can't study, or maybe that you're stronger than him. But Mommy and Auntie don't believe that you're stronger than the master. And you? Do you think I am? Xiao shook her head and said, I don't believe you're that strong either. You always walk up the mountain, sit there until the evening and then comes back down by foot again. Strong people can fly. Xiaoqin, you're annoying Uncle Lin again, said someone from the distance. A young girl with a ponytail trotted towards them. She was around 10 years old or so, but she looked mature already. She even blushed when looking at the young man. Lin Feng, brother, sorry about that, she's bothering you again, said the young girl, catching Xiaoqin and hugging her. When she grabbed the child, her hand brushed Lin Feng's arm and she blushed, looking shy. No problem, I like Xiaoqin. That young man was Lin Feng, who had disappeared from Tiantai for half a year already. He'd been staying in that village for a month already. The people in the village thought he was as an eccentric person who enjoyed climbing in the mountains and relaxing there. He also liked observing people practicing cultivation. Because Lin Feng was friendly, funny and warm, people in the village liked him. Sometimes, they liked to make jokes. For example, they asked him if he had been dumped by the woman he loved. That would at least explain why he was living in seclusion in the mountains. The young girl was called Yi Shui. She was very beautiful. Even though she was still very young and didn't look like a grown woman, Lin Feng thought she was much more beautiful than Qi Jiao Jiao or Yang Ziyi. Besides, Yi Shui was a genius in that village. She was so young and had already broken through to the 7th Xianqi layer. She would soon break through to the Tianqi layer. The village placed high hopes on her. In the future, there would also be many men who would fall in love with her. Brother Feng, said Yi Shui at that moment, her voice was trembling. She looked very shy again. What's wrong? Asked Lin Feng, smiling. Yi Shui took out a small blade and said, Brother Lin Feng, "Can you shave your beard?" She blushed while talking. She was curious what he looked like. Lin Feng was surprised. He looked at her, smiled and said, "All right, I'll shave it." "Yes, I want to see Uncle Lin without his beard," said Xiao Chen. She was excited and giggling. "Give me the blade, I'll go to the waterfall to shave," said Lin Feng smiling. Then he walked to a small waterfall at the foot of the mountain. He looked at his reflection in the water and laughed in a gentle way. Maybe even Meng Qing wouldn't recognize him like that. Half a year. I wonder how Meng Qing is doing and if everything is fine in Shuiyu. What is the latest new in the Ba Huang province? Whispered Lin Feng. Lin Feng had lived relaxed those past 6 months. He shaved his beard, he also cut some of his hair. A clean young man appeared in the water's reflection and he was smiling in a resplendent way. Then he used the fresh and clear water from the waterfall to clean his face. He stood up, put a new clean, white robe on and walked back. Yi Shui and Xiao Chen were looking at the master who was teaching the crowd. Xiao Chen turned around and saw Lin Feng. "Uncle Lin," said Xiao Chen. Yi Shui also turned around when she heard him and looked at Lin Feng. The sun was shining upon Lin Feng. He looked like a clean and handsome 20-year-old young man. Yi Shui's mouth was wide open. She put her small hand over her mouth. Was it still Lin Feng? "Yi Shui!" shouted the master at that moment. Then he saw Lin Feng and was surprised too. What a handsome young man. Chapter 1202. Tianlong Divine Castle. Time passed, and 6 more months went by. People were still trying to know if it was true that Qiu Yu Xian had broken through to the Zunqi layer. People started thinking that Qiu Yu Xian probably had a special body, otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to break through from the 7th Tianqi layer to the Zunqi layer in only half a year. Even the 10 strongest cultivators of the region were not capable of doing that. After that, more gossip spread in the region. Long Teng from Tianlong Divine Castle in the western part of Ba Huang had apparently also broken through to the Zunqi layer. Some people had also noticed that Tianlong Divine Castle paid a secret visit to the Qiu clan. One word was on everyone's mind: wedding. Tianlong Divine Castle wanted Long Teng to marry Qiu Yu Xian. They did that before knowing what Qiu Yu Xian's special body was to increase their chances. For the Qiu clan, being able to get close to Tianlong Divine Castle was an honor, but because of Tian Tai, it was a bit complicated. After all, Qiu Yu Xian was one of Tian Tai's disciples and there were tensions between Tianlong Divine Castle and Tian Tai. The Qiu clan didn't want to miss that opportunity though. If things went well, they'd be part of an imperial group of influence. Besides, the diviner had told Long Teng that he'd become an emperor someday. That would also be great for the Qiu clan. At the same time, in the northern part of Ba Huang, the news that Xian Yuan was getting ready to marry Yang Ziyi had traveled as well. Lin Feng didn't know those things, though. He was still in the small village enjoying life and nature. Going up and down the mountain was now everybody's daily exercise in that village. Their master asked them to do that after watching Lin Feng. Yi Shui was following them all, but she didn't look focused. Instead, he was looking at the waterfall. At the foot of the waterfall, there was a silhouette in white clothes, looking at the water. "Yi Shui, you're secretly looking at Lin Feng again," said the master. He was smiling because he thought she always did this. "She's always looking at him," said Xiao Chen in a cute way. Yi Shui blushed and lowered her head. "Hi Yi Shui, if I were a girl, I would also like Lin Feng. Besides, he probably hides his cultivation level. That would explain why he's so enigmatic and unfathomable," said the master. "Master, you're making fun of me again," said Yi Shui. Then she added, "Besides, he's just an ordinary man, he is not a cultivator at all. Have you ever seen him practice cultivation?" "I'm going to play with Uncle Lin," said Xiao Chen running towards Lin Feng. Even though he was a baby, he was already quite fast. Xiao Chen will be able to start practicing cultivation soon," said the master laughing and looking at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen kept running towards the waterfall and Yi Shui and the master let him. Xiao Chen was running and calling Lin Feng, however he stopped. Lin Feng had cut the waterfall with a finger and it stopped flowing. "Kacha!" The child fell down on the ground, touched her head and continued walking towards Lin Feng. Then, the waterfall was flowing again. She turned around and walked back towards the master and Yishui while shouting, Master, Auntie, what's wrong, Xiaoqin? Asked the master when he saw the little girl come back. Uncle Lin put his finger in the waterfall, and it stopped flowing. She was breathing heavily in a very cute way. When the master heard that, he too stared at the waterfall. You understand nothing, don't talk such nonsense, said Yishui caressing Xiaoqian's hair. Auntie, I'm telling the truth, said the child showing the palm of her hands. All right, you're telling the truth, said Yishui pinching her cheeks. Woo, woo. In the distance, a sound echoed into the mountains, breaking the silence of the countryside. Everybody gazed into the distance to see what was happening. Let's go. Everybody started running in that direction. Lin Feng turned around and saw that everybody was leaving in the distance. He frowned. Why did they suddenly start running? I should go too, whispered Lin Feng. He had stayed in the village for a while now, but he loved it there. There was dust in the village, and the only road in the village was cracking as craters appeared. The villagers were terrified. When the master and the others arrived, they saw a group of dragon horses. Their riders looked domineering and majestic. Those people seemed to despise the villagers. Yishui, take Xiaoqin away, said the master to Yishui. He ran towards the riders and said to the leader, a young man, you just arrived in Longquan village, why cause trouble? We've heard you have a stone called the Dragon Source Stone, and we want it, said the young man aggressively. The crowd was furious when they heard him. The Dragon Source Stone was a precious treasure which belonged to their ancestors. They could practice cultivation so quickly thanks to that stone. How could they give it up? When the master heard the crowd burst into an uproar, he shook his hand and said, Your Excellency, the Dragon Source Stone is a gift from our ancestors. Don't insist, please. Shut the hell up, shouted the young man aggressively. I never repeat myself, go and take the Dragon Source Stone out. Your Excellency, Tianlong Divine Castle is a powerful imperial group, isn't it a bit exaggerated to act like this? Said the master in a cold way. He couldn't hand over their ancestors' gifts. What? The young man frowned and his facial expression was cold-looking. A cultivator from the village recognized people from Tianlong Divine Castle? Yishui, go and find Lin Feng, hurry up, said the master to Yishui using telepathy. Hurry up. Yishui grinded her teeth and ran away. How beautiful, but can she run away? The young man smiled coldly and said, Since you know we're from Tianlong Divine Castle, will you still oppose us? We won't give away our ancestors' gifts, said the master in a cold way. Very good, said the young man looking furious. You just sent the girl to find other people, I guess. I've checked the village before coming though. Apart from you who's broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer, there's nobody else here who's at the top of the Tianqi layer. Who could she look for now? The master's face turned deathly pale. Those people were from Tianlong Divine Castle and the weakest one had broken through to the 5th Tianqi layer. The leading young man had broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer. Could Lin Feng be of any help? Since you sent her to find someone, I'll wait. Then, I'll kill everyone at the same time in one shot. It'll be less troublesome that way, said the young man calmly and indifferently. Since the villages knew they were from Tianlong Divine Castle, they couldn't let any of them live. The master's face had turned deathly pale. How cruel. Cut his hands first, said the young man coldly. Two cultivators laughed and jumped off their horses, walking towards the master. My fellow disciples, Long Teng is going to ask for Chiu Yu Xian's hand. For that, he needs a gift, and the Dragon Source Stone will be perfect. The master of the village had only broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer, he couldn't do much against them. Two horrible shrieks spread in the distance. The crowd was furious. Everybody stop, shouted the master furiously. Everybody looked terrified. They were all staring at their master, kneeling down on the ground. Someone grabbed his arm and snapped it off. Don't harm our master, said Xiaoqin running towards them. He was furious when she saw that their master's arm was cut off. Go back, shouted the master. No, I won't let them hurt you. Auntie went to find Uncle Lin. He is very strong and he will save you, said Xiaoqin. He had said where Yishui had gone in front of those people. He was a child, so he didn't realize what he had done. How cute, said the young man on the horse. He jumped off the horse and said with an evil smile, Come and give me a hug. I beg you, don't harm her, she's just a child, said the master furiously. Come and give me a hug, said the young man in a cold way. Hee. The one who had cut the master's arm off laughed and stretched his hands out towards the child. However, at that moment, he put his hands on his face, which turned black. Then he slowly collapsed, dead. Everybody was astonished. He was dead. Chapter 12:03. Suddenly going back. He's dead. The atmosphere became extremely calm. He was going to grab Xiao Chen, but then he died suddenly. Go and get the child, shouted the leader. Someone else glanced at the crowd and slowly walked towards the child. Bzz. He suddenly stretched his hands towards the child, however, at that moment, a terrifying chi penetrated his body. He started shaking, his face turned deathly pale and he collapsed, dead as well. Boom! The strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle looked furious. In the crowd was someone who looked quite ordinary. You, over there, you weren't here a moment ago, said the leader pointing at a young man. At the same time, the young man slowly came out from the crowd. When the master saw how calm Lin Feng looked, he suddenly felt safer and smiled indifferently. At the same time, someone was running in their direction from the distance. It was Yi Shui. She had gone to look for Lin Feng, but fast enough to keep up with him. Master, said Yi Shui when she saw he was injured. I'm all right, said the master smiling. He hoped Lin Feng could save them now. Lin Feng slowly came out from the crowd and grabbed the child. Uncle Lin, they're bad people, said the child. Uncle Lin knows that, said Lin Feng in a gentle way, hugging the child. Who are you? Asked the leader of the Tianlong Divine Castle group. Lin Feng glanced at him, crouched down and put the child back on the ground. Then he took out a blue jar and said, Master, open your mouth. The master was skeptical, but listened to Lin Feng. Lin Feng put blue drops of liquid in his mouth and in a flash, he recovered his arm which had just been cut off. That liquid contained the energy of life. That was holy water. After a few minutes, the master shook his arm and clenched his fists, making crackling sounds. Master, the crowd was in awe. I just asked you something, said the young man from Tianlong. Who are they? Asked Lin Feng to the master as if he hadn't heard them. Tianlong Divine Castle's people. They want to steal our ancestors' gift. Because I recognized them, they want to kill all of us, replied the master with an upset tone. Tianlong Divine Castle, whispered Lin Feng. He slowly walked towards them, neither slow nor fast. Kill him, said the young man coldly. Two cultivators suddenly threw themselves at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked calm and continued slowly walking forwards. Then, he raised his hand and two beams of light appeared. In a flash, the two attackers fell to the ground and remained motionless. I told you I didn't lie, he's extremely strong. He cut the waterfall with one finger, said the child looking at Yi Shui. Yi Shui was astonished, she couldn't believe her eyes. As the master had said, Lin Feng's cultivation was unfathomable. What a fast sword! The young man was astonished, he hadn't even seen Lin Feng's sword clearly. How had he killed those two people exactly? Your Excellency, we're from Tianlong Divine Castle. Let's say that what happened today was a misunderstanding, okay? A misunderstanding? The crowd was looking at the young man in a cold way. Lin Feng was still calmly walking forwards. Your Excellency, we're from Tianlong Divine Castle, he said again when he saw that Lin Feng hadn't stopped. Tianlong Divine Castle, so what? Said Lin Feng. He raised his head and glanced at them coldly. The few strong cultivators left suddenly looked terrified when they saw how calm Lin Feng was. Let's join hands and kill him, said the young man. Then, they all released chi which surrounded Lin Feng. Everybody was attacking him at the same time and Lin Feng had the impression that dragons were attacking him. Wind and thunder attack. Lin Feng performed a knife hand strike in the air and a dazzling light appeared. An explosion sounded and those people's bodies exploded. It was as if they had been struck by thunder. Lin Feng had practiced cultivation intensely for 8 months. so now he could make abstruse energies fuse together. Usually, when using thunder and wind energies to attack, even at the same time, thunder energies constituted a thunder attack and wind energies constituted a wind attack. Lin Feng, however, made those two types of energies fuse together, as if he had recreated a new energy. It was much more powerful than using them separately or at the same time. It was too easy for him to kill people who didn't understand abstruse energies now. Of course, wind and thunder fusion was only one type of fusion Lin Feng used with his sword. Lin Feng wanted to walk on Emperor Wu Tianjian's path. His heart was like water, his sword was like his heart. He was thinking sword, using natural and abstruse energies to enhance his swordsmanship. Of course, what was easy for Lin Feng seemed incredible for the people in the village. They had previously thought that the young man wasn't a cultivator. How could he be so strong? He had easily killed all of Tianlong Divine Castle's strong cultivators. Lin Feng let the horses go. He turned around and asked the master, "Don't you want to move?" The attackers were from Tianlong Divine Castle, so they could destroy a small village easily if something made them angry. The master looked at the crowd, shook his head and said, "No need. Apparently, they came here secretly because they wanted to take our ancestors' gift as a present for someone. They didn't tell anyone about that, I think. We just need to clean the village properly and nobody will know we did it. And after all, we don't have anyone here who could have killed them. I'm worried about anything that could happen to you all," said Lin Feng. Those people were not strong. Even if Tianlong Divine Castle didn't come back, anything could happen to them. "You're right. I'll have the majority leave and I'll send some people to scout the region. If anything happens, I'll make the ones who had stayed here leave." Lin Feng nodded. That was the best they could do. "Please be careful," said Lin Feng to the crowd. "We will." According to what that guy said, Long Teng will go and ask for Chiu Xian's hand because they want to get married, said the master. Lin Feng was surprised. Long Teng wants to marry to Chiu Xian? Indeed, Chiu Xian must be from the Chiu clan in the northern part of Ba Huang, said the master. He knew some things about the outside world. The village was between the northern part of Ba Huang and the western part of Ba Huang, so he had heard about the Chiu clan. I should leave, thought Lin Feng. Then he walked to Xiaochen, smiled and said, "Little boy, practice cultivation seriously and someday you'll protect your village." "All right," said Xiaochen nodding. Lin Feng smiled in a gentle way, looked at Yishui and said, "I'll give you some things just in case." He opened his third eye and transmitted some memories to Yishui. "I'm off," said Lin Feng. Then he rose up in the air and a terrifying sword appeared under his feet. "Uncle Lin." The little boy ran. He wanted to follow Lin Feng, but Lin Feng was already far away. Tears appeared in his eyes. Yishui watched as Lin Feng disappeared. She felt sad. Everybody ran after Lin Feng in the village. Maybe they would never see him again. "Uncle Lin, when I grow up, I'll find you," said the child watching as Lin Feng's silhouette disappear. Chapter 1204. Tiantai will help. Tiantai was particularly calm. The Tian-level cultivators of Tiantai practiced cultivation even harder after they had been humiliated by Xian Yuan. Mu Chen had come out once to tell them not to be worried and not to panic. Xian Yuan had the advantage over them those days, but if they practiced cultivation hard, they would be able to surpass him. They would get their revenge sooner or later. Even though Mu Chen had cheered them up a little, they still remembered Xian Yuan's words, how he had called Tiantai's cultivators were weak. At the top of the celestial flight of stairs, in front of a palace, there was a celestial-looking girl. She missed Lin Feng, but she didn't want to bother him, so she didn't take the initiative to contact him. The whole time, she had just stayed in the palace and practiced cultivation. From time to time, she had heard people outside talking about what was happening in Ba Huang. That girl who looked exactly the same as Xan Yi was Chiu Xian. She hadn't broken through to the Zun Qi layer, but she was about to though. Long Teng wanted to marry her and Xian Yuan was going to marry Yang Ziyi as well. It was as if they wanted their weddings to take place at the same time. From the distance, a sword appeared and a young man was sitting cross-legged on it. Lin Feng's soul was filled with cultivation. He had copied things from the palace in Tiantai into his soul. In his thoughts, he was sitting cross-legged in the palace, and in front of him, there were 81 patterns which were all more complicated than the previous one. Lin Feng had seen those in the mysterious world. Those were holy marks. The sword patterns looked even more distinct because they contained sword intent. Lin Feng studied them calmly. He didn't learn them though. He had said in the sword grave that from then on, he would create his own path. He could study other things and then integrate them to his own cultivation. The wind around him was violent, but didn't affect Lin Feng's cultivation. No matter where, Lin Feng could practice cultivation. Thousands of kilometers were nothing for his sword. In a short time, Lin Feng again appeared in the sky above Tiantai. Many people stopped cultivating and came out of their palaces to see Lin Feng had come back. Lin Feng was back. He had disappeared for more than 6 months and now he was back. Lin Feng landed and walked towards the flight of stairs. Everyone there were staring at him like they couldn't believe he was back. Why does he still only have the strength of the 7th Tianqi layer? The crowd was surprised. Lin Feng had disappeared for so long and he hadn't leveled up? Qiu Yu Xen was already trying to break through to the Zunqi layer. Shen Yuan was also at the top of the 9th Tianqi layer. It would be strange if Lin Feng hadn't progressed at all. They didn't know what Lin Feng had done all this time, so they were surprised. Actually, Lin Feng had purposely tried not to practice cultivation. Lin Feng slowly walked towards the flight of stairs. Step by step, he had given his key to Meng Qing, so he had to undergo the pressures again. But he was walking up the flight of stairs on foot like an ordinary person. It was as if he didn't have any qi. He walked up the stairs normally, the 6th group of steps, 7th, 8th. Lin Feng easily walked up the stairs and looked around. "You're back," said Meng Qing. Lin Feng had changed, even his qi was different. "I am," nodded Lin Feng. He walked towards her and put his hands on her face. "You've lost weight." Meng Qing shook her head. "I was getting ready to go find you. I wanted to tell you, Long Teng will ask for Qiu Yu Xian's hand in a few days." Lin Feng remained silent, but Meng Qing shook her head, smiled and said, "Go, if you miss her, you need to go and see her. It's about time." Lin Feng looked at her and smiled wryly. He caressed her cheeks, smiled and said, "Why are you such a good wife?" "If I tell you, you'll have to remember it forever," said Meng Qing, staring back at Lin Feng and smiling. "All right, I will remember your words forever," said Lin Feng, nodding. "In my life, the only warmth I feel is when I see your smile. Therefore, I don't want you to go against your convictions," said Meng Qing in a gentle way. Lin Feng was touched by these words. "In my life, the only warmth I feel is when I see your smile." "Silly girl." Lin Feng caressed Meng Qing's hair. "Remember that," said Meng Qing, smiling. "Lin Feng, you're back," said Mu Chen. "Go." Lin Feng dragged Meng Qing and their silhouettes flickered. They were moving towards the central part of Tiantai, where Mu Chen's voice had come from. "Brother!" Very quickly, they arrived in the central part of Tiantai. Apart from Mu Chen, there were 2 other people. The Zun-level disciple who had ranked first and the sadhu. They walked towards them. Mu Chen smiled and said, "Not bad, you leveled up again." Many people were surprised. It seemed like Lin Feng still had the strength of the 7th Tianqi layer. Why did Mu Chen say that he had leveled up? "Do you know what has happened in the northern part of Ba Huang?" asked Mu Chen. "I just heard a little," replied Lin Feng. "All right, in 3 days, Tianlong Divine Castle will go to the Qiu clan to ask for Qiu Yu Xian's hand. Besides, Shen Yuan will also go to the Yang clan to ask for Yang Ziye's hand. You've been away for a while, you should go and have a look around," said Mu Chen, smiling in a profound way. "I'll ask Brother Qi and Brother Ruoya to go with you. If other people want to join, they can go and join the fun." Many people looked excited when they heard Mu Chen. With those 2 strong cultivators, they would be safe. "Go!" Mu Chen turned around and left. However, people could still hear his voice. "Do whatever you want. If there are any problems, Tiantai will be there." "Thank you," said Lin Feng, watching as Mu Chen disappeared. Chapter 1205. Lin Feng at the Qiu's 3 days after that. The streets were lively in the northern part of Ba Huang. Since Qiu Yuxin had risen and Xian Yuan had attacked people in Tiantai, the northern part of Ba Huang had been particularly calm for quite a while now. Tianlong Divine Castle was coming to the northern part of Ba Huang, which meant things would be changing in the province. If Tianlong Divine Castle from the western part of Ba Huang came to the northern part of Ba Huang, that was an obvious provocation. Besides, they were coming to ask for Qiu Yuxin's hand. Tianlong Divine Castle was an imperial group of influence. If the Qiu clan hadn't allowed them to visit, would they have come to the northern part of Ba Huang at all? If they had refused, wouldn't they have humiliated Tianlong? What was happening behind the scenes? Besides, the leader of the Yang clan who had been severely injured during the war against the Island of the Nine Dragons and the Shenyuan clan was also going to go to the Qiu clan. Everybody was wondering why. If Shenyuan was going to ask for Yang Ziye's hand, why didn't he go to the Yang clan directly? Didn't it prove that the Yang clan, the Qiu clan and the Shenyuan clan were getting too close to Tianlong Divine Castle? The sun was shining and it was a warm day. The Qiu clan's territory looked even nicer with the sun shining like that. The Qiu clan had made great efforts to decorate. There was one extremely long rug going from the gate all the way to the main palace. Many people were walking on the long rug, smiling and laughing. The crowd immediately understood what that meant. The wedding was definitely going to happen. The decorations proved that the Qiu clan had already accepted Qiu Yuxin and Long Ting's union, otherwise, they wouldn't have put forth so much effort. Time passed and even more people had arrived, keeping the Qiu clan busy. "Ha, Qiu Hao, congratulations," said a middle-aged man. He was with a group of people and looked to be their leader. He looked majestic and strong. It was the leader of the Yang clan, Yang Lin. "What an honor to see you here," said Qiu Hao smiling proudly, but he didn't come to the gate to welcome them. This made Yang Lin a little upset. The Qiu clan was going to become part of Tianlong Divine Castle, so they were changing their status as well. He also waved at Qiu Hao's father, only waved. Of course, even though Yang Lin was unhappy, he didn't show it. Besides, he didn't know that Qiu Hao was unhappy. Qiu Yuxin was achieving meteoric success as a cultivator. She had almost killed his children because of a stranger. How could he be happy? The two chatted and walked. Yang Zilan and Yang Ziyi were behind Yang Lin. Yang Ziyi was excited. The Shenyuan clan was going to arrive soon. As expected, soon after that, the Shenyuan clan arrived. The leader was wearing a golden robe and he looked like he was 30. His chi was majestic. That was Shenyuan's uncle, Shenyuan Wei. "Brother Shenyuan," said Qiu Hao politely. The Shenyuan clan had an emperor, so they had to be more respectful to them, compared to the Yang clan. "Brother Qiu, you're so polite," said Shenyuan Wei smiling happily. He then looked at the Yang clan. "Brother Yang, you're here too." "Of course," said Yang Lin standing up. He looked at Shenyuan and he seemed very satisfied. "Your chi has become much stronger. You'll soon break through to the Zunqi layer and then you'll try to become an emperor like Emperor Shenyuan." Maybe by that time, our families will be one," said Shenyuan Wei laughing loudly. He seemed very happy. Boom boom boom. At that moment, in the distance, loud sounds were approaching. Many people gazed into the distance. Some even rose up in the air to see where those sounds were coming from. There were dragon horses which were wearing dragon armors and were pulling large carriages. "They're here, Tianlong Divine Castle is coming." The crowd was astonished. Tianlong Divine Castle had arrived. They were really there. Bzz. Many people rose up in the air. The leader was an old man who looked like he was at the end of his life, but his eyes still looked like those of a young man. He was the leader of the Qiu clan, Qiu Song. He had to welcome people from Tianlong personally. "No need to be so polite," said a loud voice in the distance. Someone came out of a carriage and rose up in the air. It was a strong cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle. Long Ting didn't come personally. Like Qiu Yuxin, he was trying to break through to the Zunqi layer. Who would break through to the Zunqi layer before the other? "I had to welcome you personally," said Qiu Song. Of course, the destiny of the Qiu clan would change if they got close to Tianlong, so the old man attached a lot of importance to that. "All right, let's go down to talk," said the leader of the group from Tianlong Divine Castle. They landed on the ground and the old man said to everybody, "You're all guests here today, help yourself and do whatever you want." The Chiu clan's territory was gigantic, so there were people everywhere. "You know why we came here? Long Ting is our fellow disciple. He's one of the best of his generation, and he has a dragon body. Chiu Uxin is not only beautiful, she's also very talented and strong. Therefore, we hope that Long Teng and Chiu Uxin can be married. They could become an outstanding couple." His voice was so loud that everybody could hear him inside the territory. "You all came here, it means you think highly of the Chiu clan and of me. Besides, Uxin is now a grown-up, when she has her own personal place, the wedding. You cannot reply to that," shouted someone while Chiu Song was talking. The voice came from very away. Everyone saw a sword flying towards them, emitting whistling sounds and shaking the sky. "Tiantai, people from Tiantai are here." The crowd was excited. Very quickly, the sword landed and the ground cracked as pieces of stones flew around. "Lin Feng." Shen Yuan looked at Lin Feng coldly. "Lin Feng." Yang Zilan and Yang Ziyi were astonished too. "Are you the one who just shouted?" said Chiu Hao pointed at Lin Feng. He then added, "Do you understand politeness and respect? Who are you?" Lin Feng calmly glanced at him indifferently. Chiu Hao was furious. Lin Feng was pretending he didn't know him. "Little boy, you came here as a guest, so we welcome you, but don't interrupt me while I'm talking," said Chiu Song. Of course, he didn't want the relations between Tiantai and the Chiu clan to deteriorate too much. He also knew Uxin liked Lin Feng. It wasn't that he looked bad, it was just that his cultivation level was too low. "Long Teng isn't a good match for Uxin. He's too weak," said Lin Feng calmly. Many people looked excited to see what was going to happen next. "Ridiculous, he has a dragon body. If he's not a good match, do you think you are?" said Yang Zilan in a ridiculous way. Lin Feng glanced at Yang Zilan calmly, making him feel strangely cold. Back when Lin Feng had only broken through to the 5th Tianqi layer, he couldn't defeat him. "Come," said Lin Feng looking at Yang Zilan. Lin Feng looked calm and indifferent, however, it sounded like he was giving Yang Zilan an order. The crowd was getting even more excited. Everybody knew about Lin Feng and Chiu Uxin. They also knew that Lin Feng didn't like the Yang clan. Lin Feng smiled in a resplendent way and walked towards Yang Zilan. Yang Zilan had tried to kill him a few times, but now he could pay him back. Chapter 1206. Desolate Xana. Yang Zilan narrowed his eyes and glared at Lin Feng. However, he didn't want to fight Lin Feng. Lin Feng had already broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer. Even if it wasn't much for other people, Yang Zilan already realized he wasn't strong enough. "The Yang clan's members are all cowards it seems," said Lin Feng calmly. All the members of the Yang clan were suddenly furious. "Today is a big day for the Chiu clan, so you little boy, keep your mouth shut," said Yang Lin coldly. "A few days ago, Yang Zhan left Tiantai. Is it because he wants to betray Tiantai and join Tianlong Divine Castle?" said Lin Feng indifferently. Yang Lin pulled again looked upset by this comment. "Watch your words. Some people from Tianlong Divine Castle have been to the Shen Yuan clan and the Yang clan in secret, now they came here. It seems like they will soon try to take over the northern part of Ba Huang as well," said Lin Feng indifferently. He looked at Yang Zilan and said, "You've tried to kill me so many times. Now we should settle accounts. If you're a man, come out and don't make me attack first." Yang Zilan was petrified. Lin Feng had become a lot more arrogant and aggressive than before. "If we don't settle accounts today, I will go to the Yang clan another day, but I'll bring people and it won't be so easy to solve those issues," said Lin Feng calmly. "Tiantai's strong cultivators from Tiantai won't get involved in young people's affairs, right?" said Yang Lin looking at the sadhu. "Tiantai won't. However, have you seen or heard about what happened in Sword City? I just have to call Jianga and they'll come. Jianga can destroy the Yang clan easily. Do you believe me now?" said Lin Feng indifferently. Yang Lin looked at Lin Feng and frowned. He had heard what happened in Fortune City. For example, that Lin Feng had become the young master of Jiang'e. Are you threatening us? I don't know if we can call it that, however, all that I know is that I saved Yang Zi back then and that you've been trying to kill me ever since. Each time, you gave lame excuses. I'm giving you 10 seconds, if he doesn't come out, I'll attack first and another day, I'll go to the Yang clan with my people, said Lin Feng calmly. Yang Lin's heart started pounding. He was trying to look calm and proud in front of the crowd though. Yang Lin looked at Xian Yuan seemingly begging for help. Xian Yuan glanced at Lin Feng, but Lin Feng talked first. You remain standing there. When I'm done with Yang Zilan, it'll be your turn. If you get involved now, I won't fight you and Yang Zilan alone. As expected, Lin Feng's words made Xian Yuan stop. If Lin Feng got help from Tian Tai, they might overwhelm him. 7 seconds, said Lin Feng looking at Yang Zilan again. Yang Zilan's face turned deathly pale. He nervously grabbed the side of his clothes and clenched his fists. He was furious, but he didn't want to fight. 5 seconds, said Lin Feng. At that moment, the atmosphere became eerily calm. Everybody was looking at Lin Feng. You will die today, 3 more seconds, said Lin Feng. His voice pierced through Yang Zilan's eardrums like blades. He hadn't thought Lin Feng would become so powerful, to the extent that he'd threaten his clan. 1 second. Arg, Yang Zilan couldn't stand it anymore. He immediately threw himself at Lin Feng, raising his fist. Boom boom. Yang Zilan's fist crashed onto Lin Feng's body. The crowd gasped in awe. Lin Feng didn't protect himself? Yang Zilan was surprised too. His fist was filled with destructive energies. However, his face suddenly turned deathly pale. It was as if he had hit a mountain of iron. Lin Feng hadn't been affected by his punch at all. He hadn't even moved an inch. You're so weak, said Lin Feng, lowering his head and calmly looking at Yang Zilan's fist. His voice was even gentle, as if he had been talking to a child. What a humiliation for Yang Zilan. Brother, shouted Yang Ziyi. The Yang clan's members all stood up. How was that possible? Even if Yang Zilan wasn't strong enough, how come Lin Feng hadn't even moved? How terrifying. That's Lin Feng, the first Tian-level disciple of Tian Tai. I wonder how his fight against Xian Yuan will be, thought the crowd, shivering. Lin Feng looked indifferent, but his indifference gave people the impression they were looking at an incredible dragon. The first place I traveled to in Ba Huang was the Yang clan's territory. We could have been friends, said Lin Feng looking at Yang Ziyi. The Yang clan's members had mixed feelings, anger and remorse, especially Yang Ziyi and Yang Lin. Boom! A terrifying strength emerged from Lin Feng's body, and the crowd watched as Yang Zilan's body flew away like a paper bag. The most terrifying part was that Lin Feng hadn't even moved. When Yang Zilan finally crashed onto the ground, he seemed to be dead. He slowly turned around and looked at Xian Yuan. Xian Yuan's eyes were filled with sharp lights. He was releasing qi aggressively. He couldn't bear it anymore. Half a year, finally, you came to fight me, said Xian Yuan. Even if Jiang'e protected Lin Feng, Xian Yuan had to kill him. Very quickly, he'd be a member of Tianlong Divine Castle. All he was worried about was, would Lin Feng give him a chance to kill him? Lin Feng was so strong, so what? Xian Yuan had already broken through to the 9th Tianqi layer, and he understood abstruse energies. He couldn't let Lin Feng get any stronger, otherwise, he would really surpass him. You think that I've been hiding from you the whole time because I was scared to fight? I still believe so, said Xian Yuan, walking forwards and releasing more qi. The ground broke under his feet. I'll kill you and everybody will understand that Tian Tai is shit. If I kill you, the first disciple of Tian Tai will have no reason to exist anymore. Xian Yuan continued walking towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng was the first disciple of Tian Tai, so if he killed Lin Feng, Tian Tai would lose face. That was why Tian Tai hadn't let Lin Feng come out. Lin Feng himself didn't want to humiliate Tian Tai. I will first cut your right arm, said Lin Feng. Everybody was astonished. Why did Lin Feng's calm voice give them the impression that things looked bad for Xian Yuan? Ridiculous! Boom boom! Xian Yuan jumped forwards and the ground exploded underneath him. He released energies which made the whole crowd suffocate. Xian Yuan released 2 words, Xian Yuan, which turned into an incredibly terrifying battle axe. It streaked across the sky, cutting through the firmament. He understood aggressive abstruse energy, so his attack was even more explosive than they last had met. It probably would cut Lin Feng's body into 2. Lin Feng finally attacked. It was his first real attack that day. He performed a knife hand strike, but only with 1 finger though. It pierced through Xian Yuan's aggressive energies and landed on Xian Yuan's right arm. Desolate Xana, that was the name Lin Feng chose for that sword attack. Xana because of the empty space abstruse energies, desolate because of the desolate abstruse energies. He also mixed some wind abstruse energies in that attack. As Xian Yuan landed, the crowd noticed his arm was not far in front of him. I will first cut your right arm. That was what Lin Feng had said. He had warned him. Lin Feng was the first disciple of Tiantai, but Xian Yuan had broken through to the 9th Tianqi layer. 1 sword, desolate Xana. Chapter 1207. Absorbing Spirits, Xian Yuan in the northern part of Ba Huang. Everybody had heard that Tian Long Divine Castle was going to visit the Qiu clan. They had all asked themselves how it would be if Tiantai's people came, and especially if Lin Feng came. He was in a relationship with Qiu Yuxian, and he was the person Xian Yuan wanted to kill the most. Xian Yuan had an imperial background. His blood was strong and his qi was extraordinary. Xian Yuan could even kill weak Zun cultivators without any problem. However, Lin Feng, without even taking out a sword, had carried out a sword attack using his finger. With that alone, he had cut off Xian Yuan's arm. Now there was just a bleeding stump instead. He looked desperate. He had never thought he'd lose so quickly. Had Lin Feng been hiding from him? When he thought about how he had said that, he only now realized how ridiculous he was. 9th Tianqi layer, aggressive abstruse energies. He thought that apart from the 10 strongest cultivators of Ba Huang, nobody could defeat him anymore. What a mistake that was. The Yang clan's members were standing next to Yang Zilan's body when they saw that Xian Yuan's arm had been cut off. What would have happened if they had let Lin Feng and Yang Zi be friends? Yang Zi was also wondering. There's no if anymore though. The Qiu clan looked at Lin Feng and Xian Yuan. Qiu Hao's heart was twitching. When had Lin Feng become so strong? The other members of the Qiu clan also had mixed feelings. They had heard about Lin Feng and how Qiu Yuxian liked him. Xian Yuan, shouted the members of the Xian Yuan clan running towards him. They looked desperate. Their incredible disciple had just lost an arm. They looked at Lin Feng in a cold way. Only the members of Tian Long Divine Castle remained calm, but their hearts were racing. Lin Feng's way of fighting was incredible. And he had only broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer. Move, said Lin Feng to those people from the Xian Yuan clan. What do you want to do? Said Xian Yuan Wei looking at Lin Feng furiously. Are you blind? Don't you know that he's the one who wants to kill me? Said Lin Feng while frowning. He already lost now, so let's stop here, said Xian Yuan Wei whose mouth was twitching. How could he let him kill Xian Yuan? He hadn't thought the consequences would be so tragic. Xian Yuan humiliated Tiantai's Tian-level cultivators. The Zun cultivators from Tiantai didn't come out back then because they don't involve themselves in Tian-level cultivators' affairs. Now, he wanted to kill me, but he starts losing so you come out to protect him? Are you trying to humiliate Tiantai and imply that Tiantai's cultivators are not as strong as the cultivators from the Xian Yuan clan? Lin Feng said all of this rather calmly. Lin Feng's explanation was logical and simple. If the Zun cultivators of Tiantai hadn't come out when Xian Yuan was attacking Tiantai's Tian-level cultivators, it wasn't because they couldn't be bothered, it was because they wanted to avoid raising the stakes. Now, Lin Feng was fighting against Xian Yuan and the strong cultivators of the Xian Yuan clan came out. What did that mean? Did they think that there were no strong cultivators in Tiantai? At that moment, Ruoxie, the first Zun-level disciple of Tiantai, came out. He looked expressionless and emotionless as he said indifferently, "Piss off, otherwise, we'll kill all the members of the Xian Yuan clan today." The crowd was astonished. Finally, the strong cultivators from Tiantai were coming out and they were powerful, aggressive, They would even destroy the Xian Yuan clan if necessary. Tian Tai had been enduring long enough. Wasn't Xian Yuan both proud and arrogant? Didn't he want to kill Lin Feng? The members of the Xian Yuan clan looked at each other helplessly. Xian Yuan had offended Tian Tai. They knew that, but they also didn't prevent him from doing so. That was almost a prerequisite to joining Tianlong Divine Castle, but now, Tian Tai was also expressing themselves. If they didn't move, they'd all die. You have 3 seconds, said Ruoxie. He was doing the same as Lin Feng had done to the Yang clan. Lin Feng had given them 10 seconds, Ruoxie had only given the Xian Yuan clan 3 seconds. Arg, Xian Yuan shouted furiously, you all move away. Xian Yuan. Xian Yuan Wei and the others looked concerned. Come back. Xian Yuan's eyes were bloodshot. He knew that if his uncle and the others didn't move, they'd all die. Tian Tai wouldn't refrain themselves after that. Everybody! Shouted Xian Yuan Wei looking at the members from Tianlong Divine Castle. He could only beg them now. That battle is between Xian Yuan and my fellow disciple. If anyone gets involved, we'll attack, said Ruoxie, releasing terrifying decaying energies, causing people's souls to shiver. They were in the northern part of Ba Huang, not in the western part of Ba Huang. If Tian Tai wanted to kill people, they couldn't escape that easily. Xian Yuan's face was deathly pale. He ran slowly while condensing energies. Behind him appeared that axe which contained a terrifyingly aggressive qi. That was his spirit, an aggressive axe. He was able to understand aggressive abstruse energies thanks to his spirit. If he had known that Lin Feng was so strong, he would have released his spirit earlier. Xian Yuan slowly rose up in the air with his aggressive axe. The crowd sighed. He was arrogant, but it was understandable. Unfortunately, he still couldn't compete with Lin Feng. Lin Feng calmly looked at Xian Yuan. In the past, Xian Yuan had oppressed him, so he didn't need his spirit. When they had fought at the same level, Xian Yuan had tried using his spirit, but Lin Feng had prevented him from using it. Xian Yuan had imperial blood and a powerful physical body. This was probably his last battle, so he wanted to deploy his full strength. Xian Yuan condensed energies again, which turned into an axe, and his spirit turned into a beam of light. Then, his spirit and his qi axe fused and turned into a celestial axe. Lin Feng was still standing there. He just raised his head and looked at the sky. Die, 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 shouted Xian Yuan furiously. He fused together with his celestial axe, and a trail energy followed behind him. Lin Feng used his desolate Xana attack again, this time using both hands. 2 hands as sharp as swords streaked across the sky and destroyed the celestial axe. No matter how majestic an attack could be, when facing someone that much stronger, it was useless. Lin Feng's desolate Xana attack contained 3 types of abstruse energies, so it shouldn't have been much of a surprise. Blood splashed everywhere. Then, the crowd watched as Lin Feng appeared above Xian Yuan and carried him down to the ground. Roar, roar. Roaring sounds appeared as Lin Feng released his 9-headed dragon spirit, which could swallow other people's spirit. The dragon heads moved hungrily towards Xian Yuan's spirit, the aggressive battle axe. After the dust rose and the crowd could see the 2 cultivators again, Xian Yuan didn't look very human-like anymore. He had wounds everywhere and looked like mush. And one of the dragon heads had turned into an aggressive battle axe. He can absorb spirits and use them for himself. The crowd was astonished. The members of the Xian Yuan clan were crushed. Ruoxie was calmly standing there so nobody could attack. I'm sure you'll enjoy being killed by your own spirit, said Lin Feng indifferently. The dragon head, which had turned into a battle axe, streaked across the sky. No, shouted the members of the Xian Yuan clan. Xian Yuan looked desperate and hopeless now. How sad, how tragic, how come Lin Feng had become so strong? Suddenly, he remembered the scene when he had seen the diviner talking to Lin Feng from outside. Everybody had looked surprised. What had the diviner really told Lin Feng? Nobody could imagine. Surprisingly, Xian Yuan's last thought before dying was, what did the diviner tell Lin Feng? Unfortunately, nobody knew. Only the geniuses who had seen the diviner knew what he had told them. As Xian Yuan died, people felt compassion for him. Nobody thought that such an outstanding young man would die in that way. The young man in front of them was the young man Shen Yuan had always said he would definitely kill. Shen Yuan fought against Lin Feng and died. If Tian Tai comes to know that some elders from the Shen Yuan clan have attacked Lin Feng, Tian Tai will dispatch an army to destroy the Shen Yuan clan, said Ruo Xie indifferently, while the energies of Lin Feng and Shen Yuan's battle were still dispersing. Chapter 1208, Zun Cultivator. So what? Ruo Xie was threatening the Shen Yuan clan. If they sent strong cultivators to kill Lin Feng, Tian Tai would destroy them. It also meant that the Shen Yuan clan couldn't get their revenge. He was expressing Tian Tai's views. Shen Yuan had come to Tian Tai and now he was dead. The eyes of the Shen Yuan clan's members were bloodshot. Their hearts were pounding. They really wanted to attack, but they couldn't. Otherwise, they would all be killed. The Shen Yuan clan had had an emperor in their history and now Tian Tai was threatening to wipe them off the map. All of this had happened because he had underestimated Lin Feng. Lin Feng. People looked at Lin Feng coldly, but Lin Feng didn't pay attention to them. He calmly walked to Shen Yuan and took his ring. Then he walked towards the members of the Chiu clan. Is Yuxian here? Asked Lin Feng to Chiu Song. Yuxian is practicing cultivation. She's about to break through to the Zun Qi layer, replied Chiu Song. He didn't dare underestimate Lin Feng anymore. Soon, Lin Feng would amaze the entire province. Chiu Song had heard that Lin Feng had seen the diviner, but what had the diviner told him? I'm sure Yuxian doesn't want to marry Long Teng, said Lin Feng. Chiu Song laughed. He perfectly understood and replied indifferently, these are the Chiu clan's personal affairs. I'm the leader of the Chiu clan and so I will manage it the way I want. Indeed, these are your affairs, but I promised Yuxian I'd come to the Chiu clan and ask for her hand. I always keep my promises, said Lin Feng indifferently. He looked extremely calm, but actually he was very happy. The sadhu was standing behind Lin Feng and smiling. Lin Feng had disappeared for half a year and he had changed a lot. His personality had changed, his cultivation had changed, Lin Feng hadn't wasted any time. So what? Asked Chiu Song. I promised Yuxian I'd ask for her hand, therefore, it's an internal Chiu clan affair, but it also involves me. If Yuxian agrees to marry Long Ting, I'll accept, but if she doesn't and is being forced, I won't be happy, said Lin Feng in a gentle voice. Continue, said Chiu Song smiling. You think I could let anyone threaten a woman I love or force her to marry someone else? I don't think you would, but have you ever thought that Tianlong Divine Castle's people aren't weak? What you say implies two things. The first one is that it is better to be friends with Tianlong Divine Castle than with me, and the second is that offending me would be less important than offending Tianlong Divine Castle, said Lin Feng smiling. Chiu Song didn't reply. His heart was racing. Lin Feng was right. I'll answer myself, and I'll answer the second question first. Tianlong Divine Castle is from the western part of Ba Huang, while Tian Tai is from the northern part of Ba Huang. The Chiu clan is from the northern part of Ba Huang as well. In the northern part of Ba Huang, I just have to call Jiang as strong cultivators and they'll be here almost instantly. However, what can Tianlong do? The emperor doesn't care about worldly affairs, said Lin Feng. With his reasoning, offending him was even more dangerous than offending Tianlong Divine Castle. Concerning my first question, it is very simple. Yuxian is from Tian Tai and she has a bright future there. However, if you make her betray Tian Tai and marry Long Ting, first she'll become Tian Tai's enemy and second, she'll quickly be a widow because Long Ting is going to die soon, said Lin Feng indifferently. The crowd understood that Chiu Yuxian would become Tian Tai's enemy if she betrayed them. However, they didn't understand the second part, Long Ting was going to die? The genius from Tianlong Divine Castle who had a celestial dragon body? He was a lot stronger than Shen Yuan, he was soon going to break through to the Zun Qi layer soon, but he was going to die? The members of Tianlong Divine Castle looked at Lin Feng in a cold way. Why? Asked Chiu Song. Because I'm going to kill him. Boom! Terrifying energies invaded the area. Tianlong Divine Castle's members were releasing them, of course. One of them smiled coldly and said, "Ridiculous. You're not a bad cultivator, but you have only broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer while my fellow disciple is going to break through to the Zunqi layer. With his celestial dragon body and his special powers, do you think you can compete with him? Some people in the crowd were wondering, could Lin Feng defeat Long Ting? Today, we came to ask if you accepted Qiuyu Xian and Long Ting's union, so give us an answer, asked a member of Tianlong Divine Castle. They had lost their patience a while before already. Qiu Song smiled wryly. He didn't know what to say. Lin Feng looked at them and slowly rose up in the air. He pointed at a cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle, a cultivator of the first Zunqi layer. You, come out. That person looked at Lin Feng in a cold way and said, "Put your finger away." "I'm challenging you to a battle," said Lin Feng calmly. That person looked at him and said, "All right, very good. You want to die?" Boom! That cultivator jumped and released a fierce dragon chi. What a guy, thought the crowd looking at Lin Feng. How arrogant, challenging a Zun cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle. Catching! Dragon scales appeared up that cultivator's arm. It also seemed like a dragon-like armor was appearing on his body. Dragon horns had appeared on his head. Zun cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle could turn into dragons faster than Tian-level cultivators. His dragon chi was also more terrifying. It seems like the Zun cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle is afraid of Lin Feng's sword technique, thought the crowd shivering. Even though the strong cultivator was extremely aggressive, he had immediately put up defensive armors. For many people, it was the first time they saw a cultivator of the 7th Tianqi layer challenge a cultivator of the Zunqi layer. There was a huge difference in level. However, Lin Feng had fearlessly challenged him. Lin Ruotian and the others who had come with Lin Feng were astonished. They were all clenching their fists. Could he win against a Zun cultivator? Boom boom! The strong cultivator jumped. Many Tian-level cultivators suffocated when they felt his energies. What an arrogant little boy, you'll see, you can't defeat a Zun cultivator, said that cultivator. Lin Feng remained calmly standing there as he released his own chi. Peerless, incredible, indomitable. His sword could destroy heaven, the Buddha and demons. What a terrifying sword energy, though the crowd. Their souls were shaking. Lin Feng condensed a sword in his hand which seemed like it could destroy the world. Die! Shouted the strong cultivator when he sensed Lin Feng's energies. His shout made many people's souls shake. It was as if a terrifying dragon was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws while throwing itself at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked tiny next to that chi. Even if his chi was powerful, the bestial dragon chi had completely surrounded him. Lin Feng was still calmly standing in the sky, seemingly unaffected by all those overbearing energies. Desolate chi was destructive, thunder energies were explosive, empty space energies could lacerate the sky. Those three kinds of abstruse energies together, Lin Feng called that sword technique, Nirvana Sunya destruction. Boom boom. Thunders emitted blasting sounds. The dragon disappeared and the crowd realized that there was a hole in that cultivator's chest. Lin Feng's three types of abstruse energies were too much. Are all Zun cultivators this strong? Mocked Lin Feng. His heart was like calm water. Chapter 1209. Go back. Emperor Wu Tianjian was a sword cultivator, so all he thought about was his sword. When his sword wasn't there, his heart was as calm and as still water. Lin Feng knew that he wasn't able to carry out attacks as powerful as Emperor Wu Tianjian, so he didn't try to learn his spells. He tried to find his own path and create his own style. He was at peace with himself and his heart was as calm as still water. His wind-thunder laceration, his desolate ksana or his nirvana sunya destruction were all destructive and explosive attacks which he had created himself. Besides, Lin Feng was even more talented than Emperor Wu Tianjian because Emperor Wu Tianjian had to use his sword soul to release abstruse energies. Lin Feng, apart from his sword's abstruse energies, also understood how to use abstruse energies. A cultivator of the 7th Tianqi layer had stabbed a Zun cultivator. On top of that, they were from Tianlong Divine Castle, so he wasn't an ordinary Zun cultivator. A new beast has appeared in the northern part of Ba Huang, thought the crowd sighing. Amongst the 10 strongest cultivators of Ba Huang province, there was nobody from the northern part of Ba Huang. In the future, there would soon be an open spot it seemed. Many people had thought Long Teng had the potential, but it seemed like Lin Feng was much stronger. Qiu Song looked at Lin Feng, his heart was beating even faster. What a beast! He would become terrifying in the future. People from Tianlong Divine Castle were going insane, their qi was rolling in waves towards Lin Feng. However, the Sadhu and Ruoxie stepped next to Lin Feng. With Lin Feng's potential, if they dared attack him, Tiantai would destroy them completely. Lin Feng had challenged the Zun cultivator and he had accepted. That was a fair fight. The Zun cultivator had died, proving he wasn't that strong. Zun cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle aren't that strong it seems. He couldn't even stand a single sword attack, said Lin Feng calmly. He was now humiliating people from Tianlong Divine Castle. Lin Feng didn't mind provoking them for they were already his enemies. Lin Feng landed on the ground and went to Qiusong saying, I didn't care about him, so I killed him to show you that I can kill Zun cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle as well. So even if Long Teng breaks through to the Zun Qi layer, I'll be able to kill him. Qiusong's facial expression was becoming warmer and gentler. He sighed. He knew that what Lin Feng was doing wasn't easy, he wanted to try and convince him against it, but he didn't want to be enemies with the rest of the Qiu clan. He had shown how strong he was, he had killed Yang Zilan, Shen Yuan, he had threatened the Shen Yuan clan, and finally, he had killed a Zun cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle. He had more than proven that everything Long Teng had to offer, he could offer it too, and even more. You will never be able to kill Long Teng. When he breaks through to the Zun Qi layer, he'll kill you himself, said a strong cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle. Even though he had seen how strong Lin Feng was, he still didn't believe Lin Feng could compete with Long Teng and his special celestial dragon body. After breaking through to the Zun Qi layer, Long Teng's special body would also become even stronger. Is that so? Said Lin Feng turning around and looking at the strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle. When Long Teng is done practicing, I challenge him to a battle to the death. Will you dare accept on his behalf? The strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle were surprised. Lin Feng looked calm and confident, just like a moment before. It was as if his sword could pierce through the heavens. Tianlong Divine Castle accepts the challenge in the name of Long Teng, said one of them after remaining silent for a short while. If he didn't accept, Tianlong Divine Castle would lose face and everybody would think they were weaker than Tiantai. Where? You choose, said Lin Feng. When he comes out, I'll send a message to Tiantai and I'll largely diffuse the news so that everybody can come and watch Long Teng kill you, said that cultivator. They had to kill Lin Feng. He posed a huge threat to Tianlong Divine Castle. Now that Lin Feng had challenged Long Teng, that was a great opportunity. All right, said Lin Feng nodding. I'll kill him after he breaks through to the Zun Qi layer. Long Teng had wanted to kill Lin Feng for a long time. Can you leave now? Said Lin Feng indifferently. Then, the strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle looked at Qiusong. Qiusong smiled wryly again. Lin Feng wanted to fight against Long Teng and the loser would lose a lot. Who would win though? Lin Feng had only broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer, but with his current strength, who could still win against him? Even if he won against Long Teng, not many people would be surprised anymore. Can I have more time to think? Asked Qiusong. Everybody understood, he wanted to wait for Lin Feng and Long Teng's battle. But if Lin Feng won it would be better because even if Long Teng won, Tianlong Divine Castle would possibly be unwilling to let him marry Qiu Xian since he had just defended them by asking them for more time. After all, who didn't know that there was maybe a secret agreement between the Qiu clan and Tianlong Divine Castle, a secret agreement that the Qiu clan had just violated? Very good, said the strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle. They immediately rose up in the air and left. They didn't look as happy as when they had arrived though. On that day, because of a young man, Tianlong Divine Castle had lost face and a Zun cultivator had died by a young man of the 7th Tianqi layer. Now, They couldn't do anything but wait for Long Ting to come out. The crowd watched as Tianlong Divine Castle's people left. Then they looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled in a resplendent way. He felt relieved. He was very happy with how that went. If Chiu Song had finished his sentence at the beginning and accepted, it would have been much more complicated for Lin Feng. Master Chiu, can I see you in? Asked Lin Feng. She's still practicing and it's a crucial moment for her now. Next time, all right? Said Chiu Song smiling. Lin Feng understood that it wouldn't be easy to see Yu Xian before his fight against Long Ting. Oh, thank you. I'm off, said Lin Feng calmly. His sword appeared, he jumped on it and streaked across the sky, followed by his friends from Tiantai. Jianga, young master. The crowd looked at Lin Feng's sword and remembered that he was now the young master of Jianga as well as the first Tian-level disciple of Tiantai. He had very powerful groups backing him up. The only mystery was how had Lin Feng become Jianga's young master? Lin Feng, did the diviner really tell you you'd become a great emperor? Asked Lin Ruotian. Everybody was looking at Lin Feng. Maybe, said Lin Feng smiling. It wasn't important. The most important thing now was to remain determined and become stronger. The news spread that Lin Feng had challenged Long Ting to a battle to the death. Long Ting, after breaking through to the Zunqi layer, would fight against Lin Feng. The loser would be a mere stepping stone for the winner. Chapter 12:10. The 10th floor in the Ba Huang province, the northern part of Ba Huang was considered the weakest region. None of the 10 strongest cultivators from the region came from there. Xian Yuan used to be considered a strong cultivator, but now Lin Feng had killed him. So, Lin Feng and Chiu Yu Xian could now be considered as the strongest Tian-level cultivators in the region. In the western part of Ba Huang, apart from Bai Chiu Luo from the Sunset Pavilion, who was one of the 10 strongest cultivators, nobody could defeat Long Ting. Therefore, when the news that Lin Feng had challenged Long Ting spread in the northern part of Ba Huang and the western part of Ba Huang, it attracted people from everywhere. In the brutal part of Ba Huang, in the mountains of flowers and fruit, Yuan Fei gazed into the distance with his wooden stick in hand and said, "Brother Lin Feng, I can't wait to see you at the top of the Ba Huang province. This time, you'll definitely crush Long Ting." The Thunderbird was also gazing into the distance as he said, looking in the direction of the northern part of Ba Huang, "Lin Feng, if Long Ting doesn't kill you, I'll kill you." In the celestial part of Ba Huang, a devastatingly beautiful girl gazed into the distance, smiled and said, "The diviner thinks highly of you. Are you going to rise in just these past few months?" In Chi Feng Mountain, the home of the celestial land of alchemists, 2 beautiful women also gazed into the distance in the direction of the northern part of Ba Huang. Half a year had passed since the end of the events in Fortune City. People gradually stopped practicing cultivation after hearing the news. Many people couldn't wait to see what would happen in the future, especially those who had seen the diviner. If it didn't have anything to do with Lin Feng, if it had only been about Long Ting without involving Lin Feng, people wouldn't have cared so much. But because it was Lin Feng and Long Ting's battle, many people were interested, especially those who had been to Fortune City and had heard what the diviner said about Lin Feng. Everybody wanted to see how strong the cultivator whom the diviner wanted as a disciple had become. Would he really rise in Ba Huang? People from Sword City were also surprised. Could the young master really defeat Long Ting with his celestial dragon body? Would Lin Feng really make Jianga appear glorious again like when Emperor Wu Tianjian was still there? Lin Feng didn't mind those things. He just wanted to kill Long Ting because of Yu Xian and because he had some personal bouts with Long Ting already. Lin Feng went back to Tiantai to practice cultivation. Lin Feng and Meng Qing were outside a palace, looking up at the sky. Clouds were rolling. It seemed like something was happening, but Lin Feng knew that that place was probably hiding something else. The 10th floor. "I want to go and see," said Lin Feng while smiling at Meng Qing. "Go," said Meng Qing nodding. Lin Feng rose up in the air and pierced through the clouds. "Bzz." Lin Feng rose up as fast as a sword. Boom boom. When Lin Feng pierced through the other side of the clouds, it looked like heaven, however, The energies were terrifyingly oppressive. Slash. Lin Feng pushed aside the energies with just his hands. Gotcha! At that moment, everybody in Tiantai sensed an incredible energy. Many people ran out of their palaces and looked at the sky to see a vortex. Lin Feng was in that vortex and looked very tiny. It was as if he could be crushed at any time. However, nothing could stop him now. Slash, slash. The crowd saw dazzling sword lights as the clouds separated. Lin Feng is cutting the sky. The crowd was astonished. The one who had impressed everyone by climbing the 9 groups of steps had reappeared. The vortex was becoming even more powerful, but Lin Feng still broke through it. Finally, some light shined upon Lin Feng. Everybody understood what that meant. Lin Feng had succeeded. Remember, those who managed to break through the sky would become the emperor's direct disciple. Finally, Lin Feng's body disappeared from everyone's field of vision. Everybody was wondering where he was. They wanted to see. What was there? Emperor Shi and Emperor Yu's living quarters? The living quarters of the emperor's direct disciples? A holy cultivation place? Everybody tried to guess. But someday, like Lin Feng, they would know. They'd break the sky and become one of the emperor's direct disciples. Lin Feng rose up and arrived in a different kind of place. He looked calm even though he was amazed. There were no gigantic palaces, no celestial qi, no roaring clouds of qi. There was just emptiness. The sky was blue, the atmosphere was calm. In the distance, there was a gigantic village and the people inside were talking and laughing. It seemed like a wonderful place. There was no battle, no terrifying energy, just positivity and happiness. There were small children whose cultivation levels were low. The strongest one had broken through to the Shenqi layer. What a strange place. Was the vortex a teleportation tunnel? Lin Feng looked behind him. There was a 1,000-year-old tree which looked to be deep-rooted. Lin Feng touched its trunk and smiled. In the distance, inside the village, there was a middle-aged man who looked happy. He was sitting in the sun, sunbathing. He looked calm and happy, his qi was mild. He didn't look that strong. People sometimes passed next to him and they would just smile at him, then he would smile back. Lin Feng slowly walked towards the village. When he arrived next to the middle-aged man, Lin Feng sat down next to him. "Are you disappointed?" asked the middle-aged man calmly, looking up at the sky. "I'm just surprised," said Lin Feng laughing. "Mister, where are we?" "I think you should modify your wording," said the middle-aged man calmly. Lin Feng stood up and bowed. "Teacher." "Teacher, surprisingly you didn't want to call me master," said the middle-aged man laughing. That middle-aged man was one of the 2 emperors. Emperor Yu. Chapter 12:11. Your own path, of course, it's just a name, so it doesn't really matter. Everyone has many teachers in their life. Many people won't ever leave their teacher because they respect them too much. Actually, it doesn't have to be that way. If you think of all your teachers as your masters deep in your heart, let it be that way. Doing things with your heart, that's what's most important," said Emperor Yu. Lin Feng didn't reply, he just sat and listened. "But you can also refute everything that I'm telling you. Everybody has different opinions. Everything I say might be wrong for other people," said Emperor Yu as if he were whispering. He didn't talk with insistence. Instead, he turned his head and smiled at Lin Feng. "Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not very clear sometimes." He didn't look like what Lin Feng would have expected. "I understand a little bit," said Lin Feng, smiling wryly. "I think you don't understand everything I'm telling you. For example, I'm your teacher. I will guide you on the path of cultivation. I will correct things I think you don't do properly, but everything I tell you might not be precise. Maybe the things I say will be right for me in my own body, but maybe that for you they will be entirely wrong. Therefore, no matter what I tell you, you should always engage in critical thinking. It's like most people think the sky above the sky is a celestial place. In fact, it's just what you have in front of your eyes. You probably want to ask me questions," said Emperor Yu, smiling. Then, he lied down on his stone long chair and looked at the sky. "Teacher, last time I saw you, you looked very old. Now you look like a middle-aged man. You clearly changed your appearance. It's caused by cultivation. Maybe the next time you meet me, I'll look like a young man, just like you. Caused by cultivation, whispered Lin Feng. Then he said, "What brought me to you?" Lin Feng had wanted to ask that for a long time, and now he was finally meeting the emperor in person. "Show me your sword," said Emperor Yu. Even though Lin Feng didn't understand what his intention were, he had his Tianji sword appear. It was then floating in front of him. Not bad. It became so strong. Emperor Yu caressed the sword and gave it back to Lin Feng. He smiled and said, "How's Tianji Z, that old dude? Is he all right?" Tianji Z. Lin Feng frowned and stared at Emperor Yu. After a while, he relaxed and smiled wryly. "Seems like things are chaotic." "Nothing is chaotic, it's just that everyone makes different choices," said Emperor Yu, shaking his head. "Everybody makes their own choices. Back then, Emperor Shi and I left Tianqi and decided to walk our own path. If a disciple leaves Tianqi and comes to Ba Huang, I'll help them, but they'll still have to make their own decisions and walk on their own path. Just like your 9 fellow disciples and you. Last time we sent Qing Lin to Ganyu because we could never really forget about Tianqi. We organized a recruitment process for the first time, so we wanted to see if someone from Tianqi would come or not. Would there be disciples who are similar to us? If you hadn't come, no problem, but since you're here, of course we feel closer. Of course, if you hadn't taken such great efforts, I wouldn't have insisted either. Becoming an emperor was difficult. It was a complex path with many obstacles. Those walking on the path to become an emperor had to have many enemies and had to kill many people. Even with some help, people still had to make their own decisions. For example, emperors couldn't directly teach every single disciple, they couldn't care about every single thing happening in Tiantai, they couldn't get angry because someone had been killed outside. Those things were not problems for them. Could they manage and handle dozens of thousands of disciples directly and take care of all their problems? That was impossible. He would have to isolate himself from the world. "Did you understand what I just told you?" asked Emperor Yu, smiling at Lin Feng. "I understand," said Lin Feng, nodding. "You don't," said Emperor Yu, shaking his head and smiling. Lin Feng looked confused again. "I told you, everything that I say is not necessarily true for you. For example, when I became an emperor, all my family members were already dead, so I wasn't attached to anyone emotionally. That's why I could isolate myself from the world. But what about you? You're young. If someday you become an emperor, will you not be worried about your family anymore?" Lin Feng smiled wryly. Emperor Yu was challenging him. "Do you understand now?" asked Emperor Yu again. "I understood," said Lin Feng, smiling. "What did you understand?" Lin Feng looked at the emperor calmly and said, "Everybody has their own destiny, their own path. Your path is not my path. I must listen to my heart to find my own path." "All right, you already understand what life will be like after becoming a Zun cultivator," said Emperor Yu. "Life after becoming a Zun cultivator?" whispered Lin Feng. "Indeed, after becoming a Zun cultivator, you'll walk on your own path and nobody will be able to help you anymore. You will have to teach yourself and see what's the best for you," said Emperor Yu calmly. Lin Feng suddenly understood everything Emperor Yu had told him and why he was telling him those things. "Is Emperor Shi here?" asked Lin Feng. "He's also walking his own path. I heard that Emperor Shi's precious stone is with you now. Now, you possess the 2 treasures which belong to me and Emperor Shi," said Emperor Yu, smiling. He was lying on the stone chair, looking at the sky and chatting. In the past, he used to be Tianji Peak's leader and Emperor Shi used to be Tianxian Peak's leader. The Tianji sword and the Tianxian stone used to belong to them. "Let's go see your fellow disciples," said Emperor Yu to Lin Feng. Then he stood up, put his hand on Lin Feng's shoulder and shook it. The space around them was suddenly distorted and they disappeared. After Emperor Yu and Lin Feng left, there was a footprint where they just were. It looked strange, as if it were changing every second. Emperor Yu and Lin Feng arrived in a city. It looked like a normal city where cultivators weren't so strong, where cultivators were only ordinary. In Lin Feng's field of vision, there was a monk begging alms, patiently knocking at each door. Even when people kicked him out, he continued smiling. It was difficult to imagine that the beggar was an incredible cultivator who could destroy that place. Qi Air is practicing Buddhist cultivation and the Buddha golden body transformation. He has to be extremely determined while pursuing that path, said Emperor Yu indifferently. Then they disappeared again. Lin Feng sensed a different qi. It was a terrifying qi. Now they were on a battlefield. There were many Zun cultivators fighting, and it was terrifying. All of them seemed like they could destroy the world. There was someone there, a cultivator in black clothes soaked with blood and holding a sword. It was the first Zun cultivator of Tiantai, Ruoxie. Ruoxie is a killer, so killing is his path, said Emperor Yu. Then they disappeared again and appeared in the sky place again. The atmosphere was calm. It was as if they had never left. Emperor Yu went back onto his long stone chair and lied down again. He smiled and said, "Everybody is different. Mu Chen follows his heart's desires. He doesn't constantly look for opportunities. He is able to adapt himself to different circumstances, and he feels at home wherever he is." "The cultivation world is even more complex than I thought," whispered Lin Feng. The emperor had just taken him to a battlefield where there were so many Zun cultivators. What was that place? "Teacher, what if my fellow disciple died on the battlefield?" asked Lin Feng. "He makes his own choices," said Emperor Yu calmly. "In the Ba Huang province, influential people come out all the time to fight, but emperors don't mind. It's normal. Unless another emperor comes out, emperors tend to keep to themselves. Otherwise, how else would emperors allow their disciples to grow up? This world is a bit chaotic." Lin Feng remained silent for a few seconds and nodded in a profound way. There were rules. If emperors came out to solve everybody's problems, disciples wouldn't learn for themselves. Emperors would end up destroying everything and then each other. That would be the end of the world. Chapter 12:12. Changes everywhere. Lin Feng, now you have already broken through to the 7th Tianqi layer, and you will soon break through to the Zunqi layer. You have to think carefully, what do you want to become in the future? Emperor Yu said in a deep and profound way. Some grand talents mature slowly. It doesn't mean they're suddenly enlightened and understand everything about cultivation. It means that they've found what was best for them. Some not so talented people progress extremely quickly, and some very talented people, after breaking through to the Zunqi layer, progress very slowly because they walk on the wrong path. In such cases, they have to walk back and start from scratch again. What you do as a Zun cultivator determines your future, so it's extremely important. Lin Feng remained silent for a few seconds, then he looked at Emperor Yu and said, "Teacher, what do you think is good for me?" "I don't know, you have to find it yourself," said Emperor Yu shaking his head. "In Fortune City, you met some people, for example Yi Renlei from the Heavens of Desires Palace. Her cultivation will always be about the 6 sexual desires, so she's stuck in samsara. Her path is the wrong one and she'll probably never be able to change it. Same applies to Zong Renyu from the Church of Desire who has chosen to be evil. He'll always be evil even though it's not his path. Some people walk on the path of desires, others on the path of mercilessness, some in the human world, and some others on the path of violence. Everyone has their own way to become an emperor and reach the clouds." Lin Feng listened calmly. Lin Feng realized that breaking through to the Zunqi layer would determine the rest of his life. "I heard you challenged Long Teng from Tianlong Divine Castle," said Emperor Yu smiling in a resplendent way. Even though he was in the sky above the sky, he seemed to know a lot about what was going on outside. "Indeed, a battle to death," said Lin Feng nodding. "I'll show you Long Teng," said Emperor Yu smiling. Suddenly, they were both in a small world. Emperor Yu had created it as to not to disturb the people who were living there peacefully. Emperor Yu performed a knife hand strike with his hand and it seemed like a road appeared in front of him. There were stars all around and it was beautiful. A mirror appeared and there was a terrifying and aggressive person in that mirror. He was sitting cross-legged and had dragon scales all over his body. "Long Teng." Lin Feng was astonished. The emperor had a technique which enabled him to see what other people were doing. At that moment, Long Teng's dragon blood was flowing throughout his entire body and modifying his flesh and muscles. Even though he was motionless, he looked ferocious. Lin Feng suddenly sensed a terrifying energy move towards him. He felt like he was suffocating. Gotcha! A sound spread in the air, the stars broke, the silhouette disappeared, and Lin Feng sensed that the oppressive energies had disappeared. Was that an emperor? Asked Lin Feng, petrified. It was Emperor Tianlong. I used the star mirror to show you Long Teng, and Emperor Tianlong sensed it, so he broke my technique, said Emperor Yu calmly, as if he had been talking about something normal. But actually, for Emperor Tianlong it was really something small this time. He knew that the two emperors and Emperor Tianlong were not good friends. Maybe things like that happened all the time between them, but most people didn't know about it. Ordinary people couldn't imagine what the world of emperors was like. Most people in Tiantai thought that their powerful Zun-level disciples practiced cultivation in the sky above the sky, but in fact they all did different things and in different locations. They were all walking their own path. Long Teng is in the mysterious dragon world of Tianlong Divine Castle, and Emperor Tianlong thinks highly of him. Emperor Tianlong wants Long Teng to become a real dragon while keeping his human body. However, when Long Teng comes out, he'll be monstrously strong. If he manages to reach you with just one of his attacks, he'll easily destroy you. It seems like Tianlong Divine Castle wants to use my life to show how strong they are. Lin Feng smiled wryly. His way of seeing things were a bit too simple. Long Teng had a celestial dragon body, and that battle would attract people from everywhere in Ba Huang. That battle wasn't only about Lin Feng and Long Teng, it was about Tiantai and Tianlong Divine Castle. Tianlong Divine Castle wouldn't allow Long Teng to lose. Tianlong Divine Castle hasn't had many geniuses recently, and now that Long Teng has appeared, they think have attached a lot of importance to him. All the other groups of influence are like that, but many others have more geniuses than just one. But Tianlong Divine Castle just has Long Teng at the moment, said Emperor. He apparently didn't think highly of Tianlong Divine Castle. Teacher, what about Tiantai? Asked Lin Feng, smiling. Within 50 years, Tiantai will amaze the entire province of Ba Huang, maybe even more, said Emperor Yu, smiling. He was confident because he had faith in Tiantai. There weren't many disciples in Tiantai, but the direct disciples, including Lin Feng and Ruoxie, were terrifyingly strong. Are you confident you can win against Long Teng? Asked Emperor Yu. Lin Feng looked at him, smiled and nodded. He had to destroy Long Teng. All right, when you are about to break through to the Zunqi layer, I will help you modify your body too. I can't wait, said Emperor Yu, smiling. Lin Feng had faith in his own abilities, so the Emperor did too. Even if Long Teng had a celestial dragon body, so what? Go back to your palace and practice cultivation hard, said the Emperor to Lin Feng. Lin Feng turned around and put his hand on the ancient tree again. He felt the pure qi flowing in its trunk. Lin Feng was then absorbed by the tree and appeared in the sky above Tiantai. Lin Feng immediately went to his palace and started practicing cultivation. A while after, the news spread that Qiu Yuxian had finished practicing cultivation this time. She had managed to break through to the Zunqi layer. In less than a year, she had gone from the 7th Tianqi layer to the Zunqi layer. That was a meteoric progress. Everybody knew about her in the Ba Huang province now. Even more people were wondering if Qiu Yuxian had a special body or something particular to help her practice cultivation. What had happened to her? Had she discovered that she had a special body? At the same time, the news spread that Long Teng was about to break through to the Zunqi layer. It was the last step before he'd have a real dragon body. Some people said that Tianlong Divine Castle was just showing off. Some others really believed that Long Teng had changed, otherwise, why would they have been so confident? At the same time, the news spread that Yiren Lei, one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, had practiced her Kamatha, the 6 heavens of desire and passion skill, to a crucial point. Yiren Lei might stop studying the 6 sexual desires. This news annoyed a lot of suitors. Who had told her to do that? She was one of the 4 most beautiful women in the province. In the southern part of Ba Huang, Fu He had left his mountain and was running towards the northern part of Ba Huang as if he had been chased by someone. Not far from Fu He, there was a Taoist monk who had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He shouted, "You're not bad, I just want to have you as my 381st disciple, that's all." It'd be a great honor for you. Fu Hei stumbled when he heard that and fell down from the sky. Chapter 12-13. Amazing Ba Huang. Countless strong cultivators from Ba Huang were going to the border between the western part of Ba Huang and the northern part of Ba Huang. The battle between the two young men from Tiantai and Tianlong Divine Castle would be a rising point for one of them. Although slow, the news spread that Lin Feng had also seen the diviner in Fortune City. The crowd guessed that maybe the diviner had told Lin Feng he'd become an emperor too, but they were just guessing. Only Lin Feng and those who were there knew what the diviner had told him. Lin Feng and Qiu Yu Xen had already become the most dazzling cultivators in the northern part of Ba Huang. Soon after, in the western part of Ba Huang, news spread that Long Teng had broken through to the Zunqi layer and that 10 days later, he would meet Lin Feng on Qi Tian Shan Mountain to fight. Tiantai was particularly and strangely calm. Did Tiantai have no confidence? Did they think they were going to lose that battle? Lin Feng from Tiantai, with the strength of the 7th Tianqi layer, had defeated a Zun cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle and astonished everyone in the northern part of Ba Huang. 3 days after, many people had already arrived in Qi Tianshan. Some of those people were riding dragon-driven carriages and they looked both majestic and domineering. Boom, boom, boom. The carriages arrived at the top of Qi Tianshan's mountain. Dust flew around and rumbling sounds trembled in the ground. They looked like incredible warriors. Then, a carriage exploded and Long Teng appeared. Long Teng was wearing a red dragon robe and he looked particularly majestic and domineering. He was 7 days early, so he looked in Tiantai's direction. In 7 days, I'll cut your head and stick it at the top of Qi Tianshan's mountain, said Long Teng, whose voice spread all around in the region. He wanted to humiliate Tiantai with that sentence. Lin Feng wouldn't have the opportunity to become stronger, he was going to die. During those 7 days, a myriad of people arrived. Long Teng was sitting cross-legged, his qi kept changing. Now, he had the qi of a dragon. In the past, he used his physical strength to modify his body, but now he was much stronger and actually knew how to transform. He just had to roar once and he could make the ground shake violently. At that moment, Long Teng was at the top of the main mountain range in Qi Tianshan. There were seats and one young man who looked particularly extraordinary appeared. Even though he looked extraordinary, his seat wasn't at the front or anything, he just stood there, looking ordinary. It was the most outstanding young man from the Sunset Pavilion, Bai Qiu Luo. Bai Qiu Luo has also broken through to the Zunqi layer, thought many people amazed. After Fortune City, those who had seen the diviner were all becoming strong. In less than a year, many of the 10 strongest cultivators were already breaking through to the Zunqi layer, which proved they weren't any weaker than Long Teng. Bai Qiu Luo practices 10,000 transformation abstruse energies. I wonder who's stronger between him and Long Teng, thought many people. Long Teng was rising, maybe he wasn't an exception with his personality and aggressiveness, he was standing at the front. Tut, what about the girl with the celestial body and the one with the phoenix body? What about Jun Mo Shi who had the imperial immortal body? Hadn't the list of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province changed? Qiu Yu Xin is here too. She's so beautiful. The crowd saw a girl who was standing there looking indifferent, but very beautiful. Qiu Yu Xin was even more beautiful now than in the past. As the rumors said, she had also broken through to the Zunqi layer. Fu Hei is here too, one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province. But Fu Hei didn't look happy, his face was extremely dark. A short time after Fu Hei arrived, a Taoist monk had bullied him, but then he stopped paying attention to Fu Hei and started paying attention to Long Teng instead. Little bastard, that guy has become strong. I wonder how strong you've become, thought the Taoist monk. Lin Feng couldn't be much weaker than Long Teng now, right? What a beautiful woman. I've never seen such a beautiful woman in my life, said someone gazing into the distance. There was a woman smiling in a resplendent way, making it difficult to look elsewhere. Yiren Lei, her Kamatha, the 6 heavens of desire and passion skill has become even stronger. We can't even look at her, otherwise, we'll go insane. thought some weaker cultivators. They couldn't stop looking at her though, one of the 4 most beautiful women of the province. So many strong cultivators came, even some of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, thought the crowd amazed. So many people were interested in Longteng? They didn't know that most of them hadn't come for Longteng, but for Linfeng because the diviner had predicted the best future for Linfeng. How strong was he going to be? Such a great battle could also influence any of them. In a small village not far from Qitianshan, people had their heads raised and were looking at the top of Qitianshan's highest peak. There they could see the best, young disciple of Tianlong Divine Castle. Alone, he could easily destroy their village. Master, that's the strongest young man of Tianlong Divine Castle, right? Asked Yishui when she saw that aggressive-looking man in the horizon. They had been afraid that someone would come again, so they had been hiding the whole time. Thus, they hadn't heard much about the outside world. Recently, many strong cultivators had appeared not far from their village, and they were terrified. Later, they had learnt that there would be a battle between the 2 most outstanding young men of Tianlong Divine Castle and Tiantai. Very strong, he could easily destroy our village. It's a Zun cultivator, and a very strong one at that, said the master nodding. His opponent must be extremely strong too. It will be a genius from Tiantai. I wonder if he looks as aggressive, said Yishui. Maybe he's a delicate young man instead, whispered the master. He had heard that Longteng's opponent was called Linfeng, of course. He couldn't be sure that it was the Linfeng they knew. A delicate young man. Yishui laughed and said, how's that possible? Such strong young men can't be delicate. They must be extremely aggressive, brutal and violent like those people last time. Sigh, the master sighed, smiled and said, you forgot that the one who killed them was a delicate young man. Everybody couldn't wait to see the young man from Tiantai arrive. The winner of that battle would amaze the whole province. In the distance, a sword soon arrived and it was moving towards Qitianshan while emitting Akshu whistling sounds. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.